Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you guys are having a wonderful end to your weekend. Let me see here. We've got Hi Pojo. Of course. Thank you for the 3-stream streak. Hello, Pocket Mochas. Hello, King Coffee. I hope you guys are doing wonderfully. I hope everybody is having I hope everybody had an awesome week and a good end to your weekend. Also, I see you over there on the YouTube end of things, vegan. Hello, let me move this over to the side here so that I can, how can I do this so that I'm not losing track of the chat? I'm gonna try to make this work. Okay. Anyways, hello, Ing. How's it going? Hello, Zhao. It's the Goober Bear. It's true. It's true. How's it going, everybody? So, last week, also like a couple times over the last couple weeks, honestly, I know people have asked if I would be interested in doing more of like an audiobook style kind of stream, like doing some like book reading and stuff, and it is a thing that we've tried in the past. I do enjoy doing it. I know it previously, interest in it has been kind of varied. But I figured it was a good time to, like, enough time has passed since we've done it before, and it was worth kind of revisiting and trying it again. So at one point in time, I was reading through a light novel that I particularly enjoy, called Otherside Picnic. So this will be familiar to some of you. Let me see here if I can, do I have Storytime? Yeah. Let me see here. Yep. So this is Otherside Picnic. Let me see. The best way for me to go about doing this is, so we've read this a little bit before. So like I said, some of you guys will find some of this a little familiar, but I figured it was probably worth starting from the beginning on it because it has been a while. So those of you who haven't been here previously to hear this, we'll be starting from the beginning. Also because, in part, it's been a long enough time since we've done it that I honestly don't remember where we left off. So, another reason to just kind of start over with it. So, we finally get to the part where they have their picnic. You know, it's funny, like, there is actually, like, that actually is a thing. So, I kind of went back and forth on whether to do this with the condenser mic or the 3DO mic, but because I still am running some, I do have the trigger redeems on, and I know the, fizzy water redeem probably will happen sometime in the course of this. So, yeah, I think we will, I'm going to try running this on the 3DO mic, even though I know it's not ideal for book reading. So, I guess, point being, if this, let me know if this sounds good, basically, as we get going. If it's not really working in terms of, like, good audio for audiobook vibes, I guess, let me know, because I can always switch back, maybe not this stream, but if we do more of these, I can switch back to the condenser mic for these kinds of streams. But yeah, so the story in question, like I said, it's a light novel titled Otherside Picnic. The book is, well, it's a series of books. It's a light novel series. It is about two girls who it's more complicated than this, obviously, but you guys will see that as we get going. But they basically stumble upon a kind of pseudo-apocalyptic, like, alternate world, and they go exploring and hunting, like, best way I can think to put it is like hunting like SCP monsters. Kind of. You'll see what I mean as we get going. So I hope this is good. I hope this is something you guys enjoy. Again, if it is, I don't know whether we're gonna like get back to this kind of thing in earnest or not. So it matters a lot to me what you guys think of it. So if you do enjoy this, please let me know, because if you do, we'll do more. If it's not really, working, then, we don't have to. But I do want to give it a shot. I do want to see if you guys like this kind of content. So, again, please, feedback, please let me know if it's a thing you're enjoying. So, without further ado, hello, Anonymous. How's it going? I'm doing well. Without further ado, I will go ahead and get started. File 1. Kune Hunting. Chapter 1. Beneath the clear May sky, I lay in a grassy field, drowning. Plankton-like shapes were jumping across the backdrop of the blue sky. It was what it looked like when you could see the white blood cells in your eyes, or so I had read somewhere. The wind caressing my upturned face carried the stench of raw fish. I had no idea if it was really fish or not. Since coming to the other side, I hadn't seen a single fish, after all. I had fallen flat on my back in the middle of grass taller than me. The roots of the grass were submerged in water, so my back was soaked too. It was what you might call a half bath. No, that's wrong. Completely wrong. You wouldn't call it that. If anything, it was like one of the lie-down baths at the super bathhouse, although the water was a bit over 20 centimeters deep, so if I didn't make an effort to keep my face above the water, it would pour in through my nose and mouth. There was no lie-down bath like that, and if there was, it would be torture. The lie-down bath of death. In fact, I was getting closer to death by the second. My Uniqlo fleece and my camo pants were heavy with water. It had been how many minutes since I ended up like this? There wasn't a clock in sight, so I didn't know how long it had been, but I wasn't going to be able to keep my face above water for much longer. My neck was cramped and hurt, and my abs had refused to stop quivering for a while now. I just didn't have the strength. You know when you try to run in a dream and your legs flop around, not moving at all like you want them to? That's exactly what it was like. My limbs were practically paralyzed. They had been ever since I saw that thing. I never saw this coming. I was naive. I'd found this world, got excited, headed in to explore, then ultimately ran into something dangerous and ended up close to drowning. What would happen if I died here, in the surface world? Were they going to talk about the mysterious disappearance of a 20-year-old female university student? They were bound to write all sorts of things about me that weren't true. That'd suck. I'm sorry, Mom. No. If I was being honest, even if I up and vanished, no one was really going to care much. I had no friends, so the only ones who I'd be troubling were the people in the university office who had noticed I hadn't paid my school fees, and the people at the student support organization who noticed I was behind on my student loan repayment. Thinking about that only made it hurt more. Even if I did make it to graduation, I was basically guaranteed I would be inundated by student loan debt. Without my future looking as dark as it was, maybe dying here in the other side wasn't so bad after all. Still, I don't want it to be painful or excruciating. Just how much were you supposed to suffer when drowning again? I started to think, then heard something nearby. The sound of grass parting, footsteps in the water, approaching. An animal? From the sound of the footsteps, whatever it was reasonably large. What could it be? It wasn't just fish. I hadn't seen any animal fit to be called one here in the other side. Not being able to see what it was through the grass was only making me feel more uneasy. I considered lying low, but it was no use. They must have heard me gasping as I tried to come up for air, because a voice came from the other side of the grass. Is someone there? They're human. Caught by surprise, I couldn't speak. It was a young woman's voice, with an out-of-place sound of cheer in her tone, like she was going on a stroll through a park on a fine day. Meanwhile, here I was, inching ever closer to death. Could it be Satsuki? The voice asked. Who was that? Not me, that was for sure. While I was confused, the voice became worried and spoke up again. Hey, should I come help? Or are you dead already? I'm not dead. I opened my mouth, despite not having meant to, and water rushed in. The liquid that filled my mouth had no taste, none at all. I hurriedly spat it out and tried again. I'm alive! Help! While I was screaming shamelessly, I remembered. The reason I'd ended up like this in the first place was still around here somewhere. Watch out! There's a dangerous one nearby, I stammered. Dangerous? What's it like? Wait, and wiggling. When I tried to explain it, the image of that thing came back into my mind. Instantly, I was engulfed by an intensely sickening feeling, and I groaned. I shut my eyes tight, trying to endure, but the white image in my brain grew more and more vivid, my mind being pulled towards it even as I knew that was a bad idea, and my head felt like it was being twisted around. What's wrong? When you see it, it messes with your head. You can't look. That was all I managed to say, and then my willpower and stamina both gave out. My mind fell into an eddy of unceasing dizziness. My face sank into the tasteless water. Bubbles poured out of my mouth. The sky I was looking up to swayed in the water. The bubbles rose up to the sky, and the clouds burst. Then, into that empty sky, devoid of birds, divided into nothing but white and blue, a bright golden color descended. I felt a hand behind my neck, my body being lifted. It was almost too easy, the way I was saved from the water. While I was soaked and blinking, the owner of the voice smiled at me. I thought you were Ophelia, she said. Huh? I replied. No, I got it. I knew who Ophelia was, at least. There's that famous painting of her, like she's in the lie-down bath of death, drowning. I saw it on Wikipedia. That wasn't it. When I looked up at her, I was taken aback. She was ridiculously beautiful. Her slightly wavy blonde hair, her straight nose, her pale smooth skin, her long arms and legs, and a figure I could tell was impressive, even through her clothes. She wore an olive-colored jacket zipped up to her neck, along with jeans and lace-up boots. I think she was my age, or maybe slightly younger. Looking down at me with her sparkling indigo eyes, she asked, Is it already messed up? Is what? Your head. I think I'm still fine. Or so I replied, but was I? Maybe my head was already messed up. A beauty like this saving me on the verge of death? If you thought about it, it really was too convenient. What was this? A middle schooler's delusion? Or a hallucination I was seeing on the brink of death? While my mind was still spinning, she said, So where is it? The thing that messes you up if you see it? She asked in such an easygoing tone, I pointed despite myself. Before I had realized it, sensation had returned to my limbs. They were still numb, but I could move them somehow. That way... hold on. What are you planning to do? When she had me sat up in the water, she stood up in the middle of the grass. No, I'm telling you, it's dangerous. Ugh, you're right, she said, squinting and sticking her tongue out at something unpleasant. That's it, huh? Gross. No, not gross. I'm telling you, you can't look. When I grabbed her arm and tried to pull her into a crouching position, I ended up looking directly at it again. The faded sea of grass sped out as far as the eye could see. In the fields of the other side, dotted with dark groves of trees and ruins, there was just one thing that stood out, moving. It was shaped like a person, if you stretched them vertically. It was an inscrutable shape, like a long shadow cast on the ground by the setting sun had been peeled from the ground and then stood up. It was white in color, a dirty white, reminiscent of smoke. That white, lanky figure stood in the middle of the waterlogged, grassy field, twisting its body around. Was it dancing, or was it in pain? Kunekune, kunekune, it wriggled. While watching those movements, my mind gradually went blank, and I started to feel sick. Despite that, I still had the feeling that I had to see more. It felt similar to trying to remember a half-forgotten dream when you wake up in the morning. That niggling sense that you should remember it, and you almost can. It torments your brain. Ugh, I groaned, letting go of her arm. With a lurch, my body began to fall over, and I leaned on her jeans-covered leg for support. While I was taking shallow, repeated breaths, she plopped a hand down on my head. Hey, looking at that thing makes you feel super weird, huh? Ugh. What happens if you keep looking? I don't know. Yeah, I guess you wouldn't. Her tone made it sound like it was no big deal for her, but there was no way she was fine. I could hear her breathing quickly. This is rough. But I think I'm starting to get it. I wonder what's waiting at the end of this feeling. I couldn't even respond properly anymore. Her breathing was getting more and more ragged, too. It felt like her body was swaying just a little, but I couldn't be sure whether it was her or me doing it. It's closer than before. We've got to run. I just barely managed to get those words out. The white shadow had surprisingly little depth, so it was hard to grasp how far away it was, but it felt like it was closer than when I'd first encountered it. My vision wobbled. The scenery in front of me looked unreal, as if it were being projected on smoke floating in the air. My head felt heavy, and I was about to lose consciousness when the blonde-haired woman did a big wind-up and threw something. The shining, sparkling, angular-looking rock-like thing traced a parabola as it flew towards the white shadow. The next instant, the white shadow twisted in place. Then it vanished. Huh? I said, despite myself. What? I did it? From the way the blonde woman spoke, I wasn't the only one who was shocked here. Letting out a sigh, she looked down at me as I clung to her leg and cocked her head to the side. That just hit it, right? I nodded. You could say it hit it, or more like it dispelled the smoke-like stuff that the white figure had been projected on entirely. What did you throw? A lump of rock salt. Rumor is it works on things like that, so I gave it a try. It really had an effect, huh? Color me surprised. Was it like spreading salts to exorcise spirits? It seemed too commonplace, so I wasn't sure that made sense to me. Whoa, she stumbled, nearly falling over backwards. If I hadn't supported her, she'd have ended up on her back in the water. Having regained her balance, she turned back to me and grinned. Thanks. You okay? That sure felt gross, huh? Yeah. The sickening feeling, the dizziness, the numbness, still lingering in my limbs rapidly dissipated. That feeling like I could almost remember something was gone, too. Can you stand? Oh, yeah. When I realized I was still clinging to her leg, I hurriedly moved away from her. I was a little unsteady on my feet when I stood, but it looked like I'd be fine. My soaked clothes were clinging to my skin, and it felt gross. Thanks for saving me. Don't worry about it, she said, waving it off generously, and then introduced herself. I'm Toriko Nishima. You? My name is Sorowo Kamakoshi. So, listen, Sorowo, that place that you came to this side from, is it close? Whoa, She was suddenly addressing me with no honorific. Though I was put off by how forward she was being, I nodded. Yeah, real close. Nice. Can you take me there? I was a bit lost, you know? Sure, Toriko. When I addressed her with the same lack of honorific, her face broke into a beaming smile. Hold on a moment. I would go pick that thing up. With that said, Toriko went rooting through the grass near where the rock salt fell. Hang on, catching up on chat now. Hello, Zen. Hello, Boo. I hope you guys are doing well. Student loans. This is a horror story. It's, I would say, sort of like pseudo horror, not like super horror, just kind of like horror-esque, maybe. It's vaguely creepy, but not like super scary or anything like that. So, Chapter 2. When I opened the door and passed through it, the air around me changed in an instant. It's dark, Toriko mumbled behind me. The scene spread out before us was of an abandoned building in the evening. The roof and wallpaper inside were falling apart, and the gas stove and sink were blackened with dirt. Spread out on top of the dust-covered table were electrical bills, water bills, and other bills, all brown to the point of illegibility. When I turned around, the door behind us was already closed. It was the entrance/exit to the small living space behind a closed-up shop facing onto the shopping arcade. Normally, the door would have led to a narrow alley. This was the passage to the other side I'd found. Toriko looked around the room. Where is this place? Omiya, east of the station. What? In Saitama? I didn't think I'd walked that far. Where did you enter from, Toriko? Jinbusho, in Tokyo. There must be something weird going on the space in there. I could hear noise from the shopping arcade outside, passing footsteps and the irritated ringing of bicycle bells. Each time the door to the pachinko parlor a few buildings down opened, I could hear the rattling of balls. Right. This is what was missing on the other side. The voices, the sounds of cars, the slight hum of electrical apparatus. There was none of it over there. Only the sound of wind making the trees sway, or the occasional cry of a bird or insect. No sound indicating human activity. That mind-numbing silence was something I had truly taken a liking to. It was a quiet, peaceful world, one I had felt like I'd made all my own. But suddenly, there was a sound of something scraping the ground, and I cringed despite myself. It was the sound of Toriko pulling back one of the chairs beside the table. Plopping herself down on the dusty seat, she let out a breath. After some hesitation, I likewise pulled back a chair and carefully took a seat, too. Across from me was Toriko's face in profile. I didn't know what she was thinking, but she had her elbow on the table, and she was gazing at the gas stove. How many times have you been? Oh, wait, I had the wrong character there. That's fine. How many times have you been? When I spoke, Toriko blinked as if waking from a dream, then turned to face me. About 10 times, I guess? Seriously? This was only my 3rd time. That often? So that's why you were so knowledgeable, I said. I'm not particularly knowledgeable. I mean, you took out the Kunekune. I didn't know it was possible to do something like that. The Kunekune? That disgusting thing had a name like that? I don't know if that's his name, but there's rumors like that, I guess. Looks like you're the knowledgeable one here, aren't you, Sorowo? I just had some background knowledge. I never thought anything like that actually existed. When I said that, it finally sunk in just how abnormal of an experience I'd just gone through. The reason I'd known about it was I was majoring in cultural anthropology at the university. I was interested in modern-day true ghost stories as a research topic. Kunekune was a ghost story that had started to be told, primarily on the internet, around 2003 or so. The narrator encounters a white shadow that wriggles unnaturally, and looking at it messes with their head. That was more or less how the story went. I felt like the entity I had just encountered closely resembled that ghost story. But it wasn't as though I had thought the Kunekune existed. Cultural anthropology viewed monsters and curses as themes for study, but it didn't believe in their existence, only saw them as an aspect of human culture. Well, look at this then. Do you know what it is? Toriko fished through her pockets, pulling out something squarish. What she laid down on the table was a silver hexahedron with a length of about 5 centimeters on each side. Each face was smooth like a mirror and reflected the room around us. The stripped wallpaper, the fallen ceiling, and the scattered garbage were all reflected clearly. However, the only thing not reflected in it were the two of us. Huh? Even when I tried looking at a different angle or bringing my hand up close to it, nothing changed. What is this? It was on the ground where that thing from before vanished, Toriko said, picking up the hexahedron and scrutinizing it. How much do you think I could sell it for? No, wait. What even is that thing? I don't know. I wonder. I never found the rock salt I threw, so maybe it turned into this. This was absurd. A mirror that didn't reflect humans? Was that even possible? Was it really okay bringing it back here? Though I felt uneasy, I couldn't take my eyes off the object in Toriko's hand. I thought I'd understood that the other side was an abnormal place, but the little hexahedron in front of me was an undeniable piece of physical evidence that shook my sense of what was real all over again. It was about a month ago that I first found the other side. Chasing the site of a real ghost story, I was investigating places people would have called haunted. I'd enjoyed playing at ruin exploration since my high school days, calling it field work as I dove into all sorts of spacious locations. Now, if we're being literal about it, I was illegally trespassing, but anyway, while I was doing that, I found something inside this abandoned building. A door that led to an impossible meadow. First, I propped the door open so it couldn't shut. Then I took 2, then 3 steps in, then rushed back out. With just that, I returned home in a daze, unable to believe what I'd seen. When I recovered and made a second go at it, I tried a bit harder, and I went 5 meters inside. My foot caught in the mud. I tripped, got covered in gunk, then beat a hasty retreat. The third time today, I came dressed in proper outdoor clothes before going to the other side, making use of my experiences in ruin exploration. I wore warm clothes and shoes that were easy to move in. I was carrying too little equipment to be engaged in sports, and was dressed too lightly to be going mountain climbing, so I stood out pretty badly on the train. If I were seen rocking around at night, I might have been mistaken for a burglar. Regardless, that was how I mustered the courage to make a serious exploration of the other side, to which I encountered the Kunekune and nearly died. Hey! While I was deep in thought, Toriko suddenly leaned over the table and looked at me. What? Why did you know about this place, Sorowo? The other side, you mean? Is that what you call it? Who calls it that? I just came up with it on my own. Yeah, the other side was just a name I'd made up for it. In comparison to the surface world, I'd known all along. It was in the shadows, on the other side. That was about all it had meant. Though, really, I was the one who wanted to ask how she had known about the other side. I looked at Toriko again. Just who exactly was she? Toriko, you... Sorowo, did you see anyone else over there? When she asked that, speaking over me, it killed my initiative. I didn't. You're the first person I've met on the other side. Oh, yeah? Toriko lowered her eyes, leaning back in her chair. Are you looking for someone? Yeah, kinda. Right, you mentioned a name earlier. Satsuki-san, was it? When I spoke that name at that very moment, bam! The sudden loud noise made us both jump. It had come from the back door to the abandoned building, the door to the other side which it had just come through. It seemed someone on the other side had just struck the door. The noise came just once, and that was it. Total silence followed. Maybe she decided to see what was up, because Toriko quietly got up from her seat, but I was the one closest to the door. I blocked Toriko with one arm, standing up. What are you going to do? Not voicing the words, I simply mouthed the question at Toriko, silently stepping towards the door as I did. I brought my face close to the peephole. I recalled there were ghost stories where, in a situation like this, someone would be peering through on the other side. Half expecting to encounter someone's bloodshot eye, I hesitantly peeked through the hole. Huh? Blue. The other side of the peephole was pure blue. A world of blue that was neither the blue of the sea nor the blue of the sky. What was this? Hey, Sorrow, how's it look? Toriko asked in a hushed tone, and I turned back to answer her. I don't know. I can't see a thing. It's just blue. The moment I said that, Toriko's eyes went wide. Get back! Even as she said that, she was undoing the zipper on her jacket, shoving her hand inside, and out came the black luster of a handgun. Oh, hold on. This was getting out of hand. Oh, it's fine. Seeing my expression, Toriko raised a hand as if trying to calm me. It's just a Makarov. I picked it up. Where? I've got a spare. I'll give it to you next time, Sorrow. For now, though, it's dangerous there. I don't need it, and you're the one who's dangerous here, I was about to say, but I wasn't reckless enough to argue with a woman carrying a gun. I quietly backed down. Toriko held the gun in both hands as she approached the door. I didn't know enough to tell if she was skillful or not, but the way she moved looked kind of pretty to me. Pressing herself to the door, she peered through the hole. She stayed like that for a while, not moving. Toriko-san? Trying not to agitate her, I called out in a quiet voice, and Toriko responded in a flat tone. It was blue on the other side, right? Yeah. Okay then. Letting out a sigh, Toriko lowered the gun, slowly turning the doorknob. Wait, what? Before I could stop her, Toriko opened the door wide. The dusty air flowed in. Was it a field of blue? No. Was it the unexplored fields of the other side? No, again. There was nothing there but a simple back alley. Huh? I rushed over, leaning out the door. The endless expanse of the other side. It was gone. A narrow, dirty alley between buildings. A case of beer with empty bottles in it. A garbage pail. An abandoned bicycle covered in rust. Easygoing Hawaiian music drifted in from the arcade. It was hopelessly banal, a scene that was unequivocally of the surface world. What? I stood there in a daze. It was gone. My other side. Looks like we can't use this entrance anymore. Wait, huh? Whoa, what's wrong? Looking at my face, Toriko asked in a confused voice. Hey, hold on, Sorrow. Toriko tried to talk to me, but I just kept shaking my head. I was about ready to cry. It had been a completely undeveloped playground, my own secret place, and now I felt like it had been snatched away before my very eyes. Don't make that face. I'll take you to the place I went through, okay? Toriko said, sounding troubled. Then she walked over and reached out to stroke my head. A pat on the head? What was she, some sleazy playboy? I was ready to clobber her. Even as I was miffed at her internally, I opened my mouth to speak. That's fine, but... There was a whine in my voice. I cleared my throat and tried again. It's fine. I'm all right. When I pulled my head away, Toriko meekly lowered her hand. In silence, the two of us looked at the threshold of the back entrance. There were no clues there that might allow us to speculate what had been there just now. If it's blue, it's that dangerous? It made you pull a gun. I've heard about it. In that world, there's all sorts of dangerous stuff, but they say the most dangerous is when it turns blue, Toriko responded, the gun hanging at her side about thigh level. Why? Does something attack you? I wouldn't know. I don't have any experience with it either, but... Toriko suddenly let out an exhausted sigh. I'm gonna call it a day. I'd like to meet again. Give me your contact info, she said as she stowed the gun in her jacket and raised her zipper. Was it wise to tell her, this mystery woman with a gun? You tell me, Toriko. I don't know my own number. Can't you just check your phone? Didn't bring it. Wouldn't want to drop it on the other side. Ugh! I panicked, pulled out my own waterlogged phone out of my pants pocket. Shoot, I'd forgotten. When I fell into that tasteless water, of course my phone was submerged too. With a silent prayer, I pressed a button. There was a momentary flicker on the screen, then it powered on. Thank goodness, I thought, but that relief didn't last. What is this? Looking at the screen, I let out a groan. The familiar icons and apps were nowhere to be seen. My phone, which had been dipped in the waters of the other side, had been reduced to a worthless machine that showed strange designs and a mysterious text that looked like Japanese, but was completely indecipherable. Oh, that's the end of that chapter. Hello, let me see. Blazer, hi. Checking in before you probably go to bed. If you are still here, then hello. I'm doing well. I hope you're also doing well. Hello, little beast man, also. Also, hi. Hi, Spike Kirby. I'm doing well. Thank you, CJ. We are doing book reading tonight. I'm starting on a light novel series that I particularly enjoy called Otherside Picnic. So it will mean that I'm a little slow to respond to messages in chats, and also any trigger requests. You can still make them, absolutely. They're still there. You can still make them if you want. I still have the 3DO mic on if you guys want to do that. But I'll be getting to them in between chapters or good breakpoints in the story. So yeah, I hope everybody's doing well, though. I hope you're having a nice and cozy end to your weekend, and I hope you enjoy the story. Chapter 3. I encountered Toriko Nishina again a week later in the university's cafeteria. Hi, Fed. Hi. Hello. Oh, also, yes, I realize that I am not pronouncing a lot of these names completely appropriately. I'm doing that for the sake of just smoother, I guess, narration and reading, because I did try doing accurate pronunciations when we did this before, and it really slowed me down. So it's okay. I know it should be Sorawa and Toriko, but I'm gonna do dumb, wrong American pronunciations instead, so it's fine. You're gonna fall asleep to tonight's stream because you're very tired, so have a great stream. Absolutely. I hope that this helps, and I hope that you enjoy. Also, I'm hoping, because we did have this problem before, where people either, dropped out of stream because obviously people fall asleep to this kind of thing sometimes, or would sometimes miss a stream and be behind on the story. But with VODs actually going up on YouTube now, I also may go through and try to edit these slightly so that it's just the reading portion. So that way, if you guys do want to catch up on stuff, it's okay if you fall asleep or have to drop off. You can always come back and listen. Well, at least that's the hope. We'll see how it goes, though. Chapter 3. I encountered Toriko Nishina again a week later in the university's cafeteria. In between third and fourth period, I'd just gotten out of the lecture for African History 1, and was eating lunch. Out of nowhere, someone pulled out their chair across from me and sat down. Wow, how rude, I thought as I looked up. There was a face I'd never forget, even if I tried. That blonde woman who was in illegal possession of a firearm, waving at me. Hey! I continued chewing on my chicken with grated daikon sauce, staring at Toriko, unable to say a word. Today, unlike last time, she was in normal clothes, the kind you might wear around town. A white blouse with a long blue pleated skirt. The only thing she was carrying on her was a leather tote bag. It was a simple outfit, but her looks were good to begin with, so she looked exceptionally good in it. As for me, on the other hand, I was just wearing the usual sort of thing you might wear when heading straight to class from a nearby apartment, then going straight home when you were finished. It was a cotton shirt and, whatever jeans were closest on hand at the time. I was carrying a cloth bag I'd been fond of since high school. There was a pretty big gap in our usual appearances. Toriko stared straight at me with her sparkling eyes. Don't you have any friends to eat with? Would you leave me alone? When I got angry and responded despite myself, Toriko raised an eyebrow and got this happy look on her face. Ah, crap. I didn't mean to respond. I hated people who were good at teasing others like this. People who thought it was okay to make fun of people for having no friends, or being unsociable, or being gloomy. Seriously, I wish people like that would leave me alone. There were people like that in high school, but when I ran into them right away in university too, it was exhausting. I'd done my best to keep my distance from that nonsense, and it led to me being in May of my second year without being able to make a single friend. I looked at her blonde hair, feeling exasperated. It was pretty for a dye job. That pissed me off. What was she doing here? How did she know where I'd be? Sure, I'd reluctantly told her what university I attended, but was she able to track me down with just that? I hadn't given her my number, my email address, my address, nothing. Scary. Let me ask you one more time, the mystery woman, Toriko, said. I immediately knew she was talking about the other side. It was the only thing the two of us had in common, after all. Why don't you go by yourself? I asked. Let's go together, can't we? It's not a matter of can or can't. What would we go there to do? That thing we brought back last time, that weird mirror lump? There's a person who wants it, you see. Oh, that. It was a mysterious thing, so fair enough. Maybe someone out there would want it. They can want it all they like. There's nothing we can do about it. You only picked it up by coincidence. It wasn't coincidence. I know a way to get more. A way? Wait. You can't mean... As I was feeling a bad premonition, Toriko leaned in closer. The kunekune, was it? Let's hunt that thing. Huh? I couldn't help but raise my voice. Hunt it? That freaky thing that drove a person mad just by looking at it? Was this woman an idiot? The money's good, boss. But... I half stood up, then realized we were starting to draw attention. I sat back down and spoke to her in a quiet voice. Are you for real? You bet. I went out and bought a bunch of seeds. Look. Toriko rolled Toriko rolled a lump of rock salt across the table. See? Let's find happiness together. You're serious, I whispered, dumbstruck, and by the time I came back to my senses, I was shaking my head hard. No way, no how. I don't want to go anywhere near that thing ever again. I nearly died, you know. Besides, would that rock salt even work? Okay, sure, it did vanish when she threw rock salt at it last time, but still. Toriko lowered her eyes pathetically, bringing a hand to her chest. I could die out there on my own. That's why I want you to come with me, Sorrow. Why me? Because you seem trustworthy. How? We've only met once. How can you know? Today makes 2 times. When my brow furrowed, Toriko smiled. You managed to fix your phone? Huh? It was broken before, right? Not yet, no. I don't have the money. I didn't have anyone to call me either, so I'd spent the whole week trying not to think about it, and it was still the same as before. How much do you think one of those mirror stones is worth? Toriko asked, leaning in as if to tell me a secret, so I reluctantly lent her an ear. How much? The price she named left me flabbergasted. I could buy myself all the smartphones I wanted and still have change left over. As I stared back at her vacantly, Toriko grinned. We'll split it even, 50-50. Seriously? Yeah, she was serious. We headed out of the university together, getting on the Saikyo line at Minamiyono. Along the way, I got depressed trying to come up with ways to talk to someone I didn't really know, but surprisingly, Toriko didn't try to start a conversation. We stood next to the train door, looking out the window in silence. It seemed she was in a good mood because she was kind of smiling. It didn't feel particularly awkward. I'd been expecting her to be annoying and try to keep talking with me, so I felt a little let down. It was easier this way, yes, but this only made me more curious about her. There was a lot I wanted to ask her, but how could I bring it up? It had been a seriously long time since I'd been interested in another person, so my conversation skills had gone to pieces. After riding on the shaky train, a lot of uhs and ums said only inside my head. We changed to the Marunouchi line at Ikebukuro and alighted at Ochanomizu with me. Sorry, I'm having to do a lot of words in a row there. Ultimately, never having said a word. The place Toriko led me to was a building in Jimbusho. It was a tall, thin building with a bunch of shops in the back of the book town. 10 floors in total. Here? I looked up at the building dubiously. Is this really okay? I'm telling you, it's fine. Let's go. Watching Toriko's back as she headed into the building after that brief answer, I grew hesitant. I wasn't good with her type. I felt like I'd been targeted by a delinquent. The reason I begrudgingly followed her, even as I thought that, was I didn't want to lose my connection to the other side. Ever since I discovered its existence, the other side had been everything to me. I mean, wouldn't that be true for anyone? If you found a secret world, all your own, where you could be free from all the bother, the entanglements, the nuisances of life, who wouldn't want to go there? Or maybe I was wrong about that. Either way, it wasn't that I couldn't have resisted Toriko. Not at all. Oh, fine. Whatever happens, happens. I finally steeled myself, stepping into the building. We passed through a grimy entrance and got in the elevator. When the door closed, Toriko pressed the button for the 4th floor. We didn't get off when the elevator reached the 4th floor, and she pushed the button for the 2nd. Next it was the 6th. Like she was inputting a secret code. She pushed the button for floors in a ridiculous order. This was the kind of thing you'd get upset at a child doing while they were fooling around, but Toriko's face was dead serious. What are you doing? If you press the elevator's buttons in a certain order, you can go to another world, Toriko answered without her hand stopping. Knowing you, you've heard that story before, right, Sorowo? I have, I nodded. Yeah, I definitely read an urban legend like that online. That sounds kind of childish, was my first impression, so it didn't really draw my attention. However, the trend in online stories about how to reach another world had stuck with me. Who could have known I'd be taking part in one of them? 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 10th floor. The elevator busily moved up and down. Each time it stopped at the designated floor, Toriko immediately pressed the door close button. The 5th floor. When the door opened, a woman rushed towards us from the opposite end of the hall. Her hair was long and black. Her face wasn't visible. That was because, before I could get a closer look, Toriko pressed the door close button. The person just now was trying to get on, you know? I said, faulting her despite myself, but Toriko just shrugged it off. She always tries to get on the 5th floor. Always? On the 5th floor, a woman is guaranteed to attempt to get on, but you absolutely must not let her. What? That's scary. 1st floor, 3rd floor, 8th floor. The corridors of the building that I saw through the gap in the opening and closing door changed like a slideshow. 2nd floor, 7th floor, 10th floor. Under the flickering fluorescent lights, a door with ground glass windows opened, and a pair of women's shoes came out into the hall. A man in a suit who was walking backwards came to a stop and started to turn. The elevator door closed just before he could, and the scene in that hall was cut off. I gradually came to realize how bizarre things were. We were traveling back and forth through between a limited number of floors, yet I never saw the same thing twice. Each time the door opened, an unfamiliar hall stretched out before my eyes. Hey. You figure it out? Toriko cast me a sidelong glance and smiled. Who did she think she was, looking at me like she understood everything? When I glared back at her, Toriko blinked as if she was confused. I felt like the pace with which the door opened and closed picked up a little. Looking at the control panel and the floor number display, I was shocked. I couldn't read the numbers. They should have been written in familiar Arabic numerals, yet at some point those had been swapped out for some writing system I didn't know. The elevator finally came to a stop after some time had passed. When the door had opened, it was pitch dark. I couldn't see a thing. The light flooding out of the elevator looked like a smushed quadrilateral shape cut out of the ground. Toriko? Are you sure this is okay? Toriko had her head cocked to the side. Huh? Did I mess it up? Huh? It was never this dark before. Whoa. Weird. Wonder if it's night on the other side. Though I was exasperated by her less than reassuring response, I leaned back out of the door. My head shot back with incredible speed. I tottered backwards, trying to retreat, and my back struck the elevator wall. "Close it!" The moment I shouted that, Toriko punched the door close button with her fist. The instant before the door shut, I heard the chilling skitter, skitter, skitter of legs, and thought I saw claws. Muscular fingers ending in thick, split claws with a ridge in them. It left only a momentary impression, and then the door shut out the darkness. The silent elevator shuddered, then surged into motion again, rising. What was that?" I finally managed to ask, tripping over my tongue a bit. "Did you see that just now, Toriko? When I turned my head to look at her, Toriko had her gun drawn and had it pointed at the door. What? Don't startle me. That's my line. Could you not pull a gun like it's perfectly normal?" "It's not like I have it on me all the time. It's just I was planning to meet with you today." "Why would you need it to meet me?" It's okay. Calm down. It's okay." That last part was in English for some reason. "Not okay. I mean, where did you pull that from? Do you keep it naked inside your tote bag?" "Sora, well, the way you talk is funny." "Huh? How?" "You're in a hurry to make a witty retort. I don't know, you sound like one of those people making a fuss on Twitter." "Huh?" While I was left unable to speak as I was struck by a whirling mix of confusion, shame, and anger, the elevator came to a stop once more. As we watched, the door parted to the left and right. Toriko gave a satisfied nod. "Good. We made it this time." Outside the door there was a roof. On the other side of the floor made of broken concrete tiles, there was a waist-high iron fence, and above it, a cloudy sky. "Let's go." Toriko stepped out. "Hey, is this really okay?" "It's okay. Maybe." I don't think so." I'm not sure how exactly to... Basically, the book is indicating with italics when Toriko is speaking in English, but it's hard to get across. Just point being, she's occasionally sprinkling English into her sentences. I was super intimidated, but being left behind by Toriko was an even more frightening proposition. Steeling myself, I headed out. Moving away from the elevator, we approached the edge of the building. The clammy wind made my hair sway. The iron fence around the roof was rusted, and I wasn't about to try leaning on it. Touching it slightly, just to confirm it wasn't going to suddenly give way, I peered over the edge. Beneath the haloed sun that cast a somewhat blurred light, a field of dull yellow grass spread out as far as the eye could see. The vast plain was uneven, appearing to rise and fall like they were waves. Here and there were seemingly artificial structures, buildings covered in ivy, massive stones scattered about haphazardly. What looked like the wire frame of a tower for carrying electrical lines poked its head out from the other side of the dark woods. Were those train tracks cutting across the marsh? Even further away, there was a range of low mountains. "What do you think?" Toriko said, sounding proud for some reason. "Well, it looks like we're not in Jinbusho anymore, at least." I turned around, surveying the roof. There were no stairs, only the elevator door. "How do we get down?" "Over here." When I followed Toriko, there was a ladder at the break in the fence. "Huh? We're going down this?" "Are you afraid of the heights by any chance?" "Well, no, but..." I was fine with looking over the edge of the roof, but if I had to climb down the side of the building using a rusty ladder, that was another matter. "It'll be fine. I mean, I've never fallen," Toriko said rather irresponsibly. I glared at her. "I'm gradually starting to see how you operate, Toriko." "What do you mean, how I operate?" "You think you can just worry about trouble after it happens, don't you?" "It may not seem like it, but I'm thinking about all sorts of things." "Oh, are you?" While I was hesitating to say more, Toriko stepped onto the ladder. "I'll go ahead. If I'm down below, you won't have to worry so much about falling." "Because you'll catch me?" You are more optimistic than I expected. I only meant I could at least cushion your fall." No, thanks. If I come falling down, get out of the way." The creaking ladder was scary, but I somehow managed to get down to the ground without falling and turning Toriko into a pancake, or having her dodge out of the way and getting turned into one myself. Is anyone else's chat not sending messages? No, I see them. Unless... Are there issues with them? I do see your guys' messages. Like the pinned comment, or like the pinned chat says, I'll be responding to them when I can in between chapters. I'm sorry, guys. I know this isn't quite the normal thing you're used to with us. But yes, I do see your guys' messages. I do see them, and I will answer them. And I did see the trigger from Spike Kirby, and I will get to that in between chapters. Where was I at? The creaking ladder was scary, but I somehow managed to get down to the ground without falling and turning Toriko into a pancake, or having her dodge out of the way and getting turned into one myself. Oh, wait, Steph's not sending? Is it an issue with Twitch? Happening in every stream? That sucks. I'm sorry. Yeah, that sounds like... I'm just checking my... Yeah, OBS isn't showing any, like, issues from the stream end, or from, like, my end. So, it's been playing up on a few channels. I thought you did something wrong. Nope, I have not timed anybody out. Nope, nobody's timed out, so if you're having issues with it, it's a Twitch end thing, it sounds like, especially if it's happening on multiple channels. But no, yeah, nobody's timed out, as far as I know, at least. So I am sorry that's happening. That sucks. No one's been shot, especially, yeah, no, it hasn't happened. So, yeah, I guess I'll throw that out there. Yeah, if you guys are having issues with chat, it sounds like that's a Twitch thing right now, and I apologize. I promise you're not timed out. I promise. So when I do see your guys' chats, I will respond to them in between chapters. Hopefully that gets fixed soon, because that sounds annoying. Okay. The creaking ladder was scary, but I somehow managed to get down to the ground without falling and turning Toriko into a pancake, or having her dodge out of the way and getting turned into one myself. While clenching and unclenching my tense, tired fingers, I looked around the area. There was black dirt exposed in the area around the building, a narrow footpath stretching out into the tall grass. I'd noticed this while descending the ladder, but this building was both similar and dissimilar to the one we'd initially entered. For a start, it had no walls, just pillars, and the floors and ceilings of each level. It was a hollowed-out ruin with only the skeletal frame remaining. There weren't any stairs, or even a shaft for the elevator. Okay, so where did we come from then? There was no floor on the first floor, just the bare earth. Toriko walked over towards a drum that had been left by one of the pillars. When I followed her and peeked inside, the inside of the drum was scorched black. There were a bunch of concrete blocks piled haphazardly nearby, perhaps having been used in place of chairs. Did you light a fire here? Before, yeah. There was a rusty brown shovel leaning against the opposite side of the pillar. Toriko took the shovel in hand, thrusting it into the ground in the corner of the mountain of concrete blocks. She dug in 2-3 times, quickly finding whatever it was she was after. Crouching down, she pulled something wrapped in a white vinyl bag out of the ground. Here. Huh? What's this? Presented with some unknown object, I hesitated. Toriko wasn't pulling back the package, though, so I reluctantly took it, unwrapping the bag. I stared down at the thing I had unwittingly accepted. It's a gun. That's obvious, just looking at it. A Makarov. Was that what she called it? It was the same kind as Toriko was carrying. The bag also contained a cardboard box filled with bullets. Why are you giving this to me? I promised last time, didn't I? I think you'll need a weapon. It's scary. I don't know how to use it. I can't shoot. I don't need it. There were a whole bunch of counter-arguments that popped into my head, and yet not one of them left my lips. That was because the thing I'd seen in the elevator was seared into my memory. Some clawed thing skittering towards me from deep inside that dark floor. I didn't know what it really was, but if that thing came at us again... I'll take it. Mm-hmm. Toriko nodded, then filled in the hole quickly. From there, she taught me how to load bullets, how to disengage the safety. Based on what she was telling me, it wasn't all that difficult, though I had no confidence I'd hit anything if I fired. Do you want to test it? No, that's fine. It's scary. If you suddenly try to shoot when you're in a situation where you need to, you're going to fail. I said it's fine. I re-engaged the safety and, after some hesitation, stuffed it in my bag. Sorry, I wish I had a holster or something for you, but this gun's just a thing I picked up. Where? This side. They're just laying around occasionally. Maybe the military came through here. I've never seen them, though. I'd considered the possibility that other people had come into this world, but the military? If so, wasn't it possible we'd suddenly get shot? While I was feeling less and less sure about this, Toriko re-shouldered her tote bag. Okay, let's go, she said cheerily. Yeah. We walked away from the building and into the grass. Our destination, the place I had met Toriko. Our goal, kune-kune hunting. Let's see here. Oh, hello, Dr. Smug. I do see, okay, so let me go ahead. I'm going to try to do a couple of these at once, because I do also see Ing's trigger here, but we also have Spike Kirby's trigger request, and right, that's what I'm about to do. So take a quick break from the story. So cow, 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 cow. Like I said, I really like this flavor, so. It's also a full can, or like a full-sized can. The ones that I'd had before were smaller, so. But yes, I hope you guys are enjoying the reading, the story time. I'm having a very good time going back through this. I really like this series, so I really hope you are also enjoying it. I'm gonna whisper for like one more minute here because not quite 5 minutes, but, it's been it's a couple minutes, so. And what I'll do then is in between, while I'm catching up, in between chapters, I'll do a little bit more whispering again so that you get your full 5 minutes worth, okay? Okay. Chapter 4. Maybe we should have gotten changed before coming after all, Toriko said as we were heading down the footpath. I was in agreement with her on that. We were not dressed for walking around outside today. My outfit wasn't so bad, but Toriko was wearing a frilly skirt that left her legs exposed. Why did you come in that outfit to begin with? I mean, I figured we had to come here before the sunset. Why? It'd be scary if the sun set here, right? When she said that, it occurred to me I hadn't spent a night in the Otherside yet. When night comes, what happens? Dunno. Her saying that so easily took the wind out of my sails. You've been here 10 times now, haven't you? Was it in the middle of the day every time? Because I was told not to come at night. By who? A friend. What happened to them? They're gone now. Toriko answered my question in few words, without turning around. Had they come together? Why was that person gone now? Was it Satsuki-san? It made me wonder, but I was hesitant to ask again. I could see a stiffness in Toriko's back as she walked in front of me, and I got the feeling she didn't want to talk about it. We trudged down the path in silence. A footpath, without someone coming and going. This sort of path wouldn't have come to exist in the first place. If people stopped walking this way, it would have been covered by grass in no time. That was assuming common sense applied here in the Otherside, though. The sky was blue. Toriko had no shadow, and the wind blowing through the grass was chilly. I was alone with a person I didn't know, setting foot into the unknown. A woman in fluttering clothes, walking through a field of dry grass. I had a feeling I'd seen an image like that in a commercial before. What was I even doing? Where was this? Watching Toriko walk on without turning back, I started to feel a little lonely. Hey, we'd only met once, so what was it that made you think you could trust me? Toriko responded without looking back. Well, you didn't report me to the police, for one. Huh? About the gun. I was sure the cops were going to turn up. Why didn't you report me? Don't ask me why. I didn't want to get involved. When I answered honestly, Toriko skillfully turned around while walking and pointed a finger in my direction. That's what I thought I could trust about you. How so? I may not be the one who should be telling you this, but I don't think that's a quality you should be looking for in a friend. But it's perfect for an accomplice, you know? I remembered something I had read somewhere. The words of a criminal who'd been to prison. When an amateur criminal was stuck in the same room as a professional criminal, the professional would ask them all sorts of questions, and when they were released, they'd use the info to shake them down. Was I being taken for an easy mark because I hadn't gone to the police? Did you know? They said that being accomplices... Excuse me, try that again. Did you know? They said that being accomplices is the closest kind of relationship in the world, Toriko said, still pointing at me, a smug look on her face. I don't know. Oh, and don't point at me. Oh, sorry. Toriko quickly withdrew her finger. Was I bothering you? When she sounded so uneasy asking that, I was at a loss for how to reply. Something like, don't say that now. Well, it's fine, but... Thanks. Toriko nodded in apparent relief, then spun back to face forward again. What was that response for just now? I hadn't agreed to being her accomplice. While I was struggling to find a response, Toriko moved right on to the next topic. Oh, right. Now that I think about it, what kind of places was that Kunekune monster supposed to appear in? What? You're asking that now? We're headed for the spot where you met me now, aren't we? Well, you know, I was just thinking that you'd probably know what sort of places it lives in, Zorowo. Oh, I don't know if it lives in them, but... I recalled the details of the internet horror story that I reread after returning from the Otherside last time. There were a number of famous encounters with the Kunekune, but the thing they all had in common was the countryside, maybe? I say that because a lot of the stories involve someone who's visiting the countryside from the city encountering it. There's a lot of countryside. Could you be more specific? Sandy beaches or rice paddies? What even is that thing, anyway? I don't know. Wait, shouldn't that have been the first thing you wondered about? You're a specialist, aren't you, Sorrow? No, I'm not. Can you budge on that a bit? Don't be unreasonable. It wasn't like I was particularly knowledgeable about it either. Before I learned about the other side, I had thought the Kunekune was a variant on the snake horror story. The name is kind of snaky, and it appears in a rice paddy, which is spot on. In Japan, snakes are sort of a harvest god, right? In some of the stories of the Kunekune, it was connected with scarecrows, which was super suspicious. You see, the Kaka and Kakashi, or scarecrow, means snake in Japanese. It comes from the Kaga in Yamakagashi, which is a type of snake. Though, now that we've actually met it, the Kunekune wasn't snaky at all, huh? Come to think of it, there was another famous internet horror story set in the countryside, Hashaku-sama. It's about being attacked by a 240-centimeter tall woman wearing a white dress. Just from the name, which means 8 feet, you can already see it's pretty long, huh? It shares being white with the Kunekune, too, so I'm thinking maybe that it's also a snake god? Maybe the same person created both. I rambled on about whatever came into my head for a while, then snapped back to my senses. What was I doing? I was talking too much. While I was thinking I'd probably weirded her out, Toriko suddenly came to a stop. Sorrow. Sorry. When she spoke in a low voice, I reflectively apologized. No, not sorry. Look. Toriko pointed up ahead of us. Ugh. When I looked where she was pointing, I let out an unintended cry of surprise. About 5 meters ahead, I could see a human-like figure lying across the path. It was blocked by the grass, so it hadn't caught our attention until we got close. Even though we were close to it, it didn't stir. Cautiously, I gauged the situation. It looked like it was a man in a white dress shirt. Dead, perhaps? The arms were thrust into the air, bent and reaching for his face. His skin was blanched. In contrast to his arms, his legs were thrown haphazardly outside the path. His face was hidden by the grass, so I couldn't see it. He's not going to attack us if we get close, right? I was joking a little to try to dispel the tension, but I immediately regretted it, as I imagined a vivid mental image of the desiccated corpse sitting up. Toriko slowly walked forward. What are you going to do? Investigate. What else? Cautiously, she approached the corpse. It didn't spring into motion, though I wondered just what kind of grotesque sight awaited. I peeked into the grass to see his face. What is this? I said in monotone. I couldn't make out the man's face at all. On top of the fact that he was covering his face with both hands, there were all these twisted, see-through protuberances that seemed to have grown out of the gaps between his fingers with an incredible vigor. The things were translucent white, long, and had rounded tips. In some places they also branched out, reaching further. They looked both like delicate glasswork and like fungal filaments. They shook each time the wind blew through the grass, and they sparkled. Never seen this before, Toriko mumbled to herself in bewilderment. They were so mysterious that I found myself staring intently at them, despite how gross it all was. Though the translucent protuberances were like mushrooms growing out of the corpse, it seemed they hadn't grown from the surface of the face, but had erupted through the skin from inside the head. The teeth peering through his blanched lips were translucent, and meshed together like some sort of complicated puzzle. If the bones of his skull were disfigured and then they grew at random, would it end up with a result like this? That was when I came to the frightening realization and shuddered. This man's hands weren't only covering his face, they were poking deep into his eye sockets. What's this stench? Toriko twisted her nose. Then a little later, I detected it. There was an intense smell of raw fish wafting in from somewhere. We both came to a total stop and looked at one another, gulping. The wind had stopped. It was so silent you could hear the buzz of tinnitus in your ears. When I timidly raised my face, there was a white wavering thing that was rising up in front of us. It was a madly twisting humanoid figure on the other side of the heat haze produced by the road in summer. The Kunekune had come. Hi, Snowbird. How's it going? Welcome in. I hope you're doing well. We are reading from a light novel named Otherside Picnic tonight. I hope you enjoy. I hope you're doing well also. Thank you for stopping by and saying hello. Chapter 5. Ugh. Immediately struck with dizziness, I looked down. Seeing glimpses of it out of the corner of your eyes, I tried to grasp the Kunekune's shape. The lanky humanoid silhouette really did resemble a snake, like I'd thought. There were a number of rounded growths, connected by thin, string-like sections, but if I tried to focus my eyes on it, I instantly was hit with nausea. This really is rough, huh? Toriko said, her voice filled with revulsion. I warned her, didn't I? Are you okay? Should we run away after all? No, we came here for this, so we've got to do it. Digging through her tote bag, Toriko produced a lump of rock salt. Yeah! With a silly shout, Toriko threw it. Her aim was precise, impressively so, and the rock salt was sucked into her target, and then nothing happened. Only the sound of the rock salt rolling across the ground. I hadn't seen whether it bounced off or passed through. Toriko-san? Toriko-san. Huh? No, not huh. It didn't work. Jeez. Well, if that's how it's gonna be. Toriko pulled the gun from her tote bag, snapping into position. What? While I was panicking, there was a loud gunshot. Ugh. I ducked my head, and Toriko kept firing. The sound of gunshots was sucked into the sky. Then, some seconds later, they came back as echoes. She didn't hesitate to open fire. What was with her? After a number of shots, Toriko stopped firing and cocked her head to the side. Huh? Hold on. There was no change in the Kunekune. I couldn't even be sure she'd hit it. Toriko's shooting form was solid, so I couldn't imagine her missing completely, but the inscrutable smoke-like form of the thing was still doing its Kunekune dance, the same as ever. Nah, I think its movements have gotten a little slower. That's a lie. Nothing's changed. This isn't working at all, is it? Maybe if I shoot it a bit more? Before Toriko could finish, I was hit by an even more powerful dizziness. Ugh. I couldn't stay standing and fell to my knees on the spot. Toriko did the same. The hand she held her gun in was pressed to the ground, and she was shutting her eyes tight with pain. If I so much as took a glance at the Kunekune, that bizarre sensation would strike, like I'd almost figured something out, but understanding it would ruin me. I lowered my face, calling out to Toriko. Can you move? No, my legs gave out. You? It's not looking like it. Well, shoot. Sorry. What do you think happens now? I don't know, but no matter what it is, it's not going to be good for us. While we were crouched down on the ground talking, I could sense the Kunekune getting closer. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. What now? Toriko, status. We've got to verify the current situation. I only said that to suppress my own panic, but Toriko was quick to respond. Okay, status. Unable to stand. Unable to run. Horribly dizzy. Rock salt and gunfire ineffective. Anything else? Her report on the situation was surprisingly calm, and that helped me settle down a little too. Swallowing my spit, I replied, Also, looking at that thing messes with your head. I'm not sure I'd call this okay. What do you think happens when it messes with your head? There's something that it would be really bad to understand, and it makes you feel like you're about to. What exactly does that mean? You're gonna have to be more concrete here. Could you not be so unreasonable? It's something you're not supposed to understand, so there's no way I could concretely explain it to. That's when I remembered. During my first encounter with the Kunekune, on the verge of my head getting all messed up, it felt like I'd managed to grasp something. Toriko, this is just a possibility, but maybe if we don't avert our eyes and we keep looking, we might have a chance. Do you seriously mean that? We've already driven that thing off once. I was even more far gone that time. If we can recreate the same situation, maybe the same thing will happen. Even though our heads will get messed up? It's necessary. It's like matching wavelengths. If we're gonna hunt creatures from the other side, I think we're gonna need to come to terms with the rules and logic of this place. Toriko went quiet for a little while, then spoke with resolve. Got it. I'll do it with you. No, don't look, Toriko. I'll do the looking. Why not? If we both go crazy, we won't be able to make it back. If I look like I'm about to go nuts, figure something out. This was nothing, if not an unreasonable demand, but Toriko nodded even without hesitating. Okay, I'll do something. Thanks, please do. And so I raised my face and stared straight at the Kunekune. That aberrant shadow had come closer than I thought, and I spotted it immediately. It was a shock like being punched hard, right in the brain. At the same time, the sense that I could almost understand was rapidly rising. This is bad. I'm gonna puke. Oh. I groaned. I threw up, and then words I'd never intended to speak started to spill fluently out of my mouth. According to my brother, it was when the green had grown thick. What were all those people in pure white clothes doing in a place like that? With totally unnatural bending of his joints, my brother just Sorrow? The sun rises. Before noon, a lukewarm wind will blow. No longer in my brother's voice, that thing that seethed up right behind me, scratching in the tatami mats with bare feet, an incredible ocean of grays. I didn't have the presence of mind left to worry about what bizarre words I was spouting. I couldn't look away from the Kunekune. It was like it had seized my eyeballs and locked them in place. Just a little more, and I'd understand. It started to shine in front of my eyes. The edges of my field of vision were eaten away at with blue, as if someone had spilled a bottle of ink. The world was distorted as if I was looking through water. Left, then right, it swayed. Though only vaguely, I realized something was changing in my body. And so, I learned that the strange translucent thing growing out of the corpse we just found, it was trying to grow out of my face. I opened my mouth to scream, and the translucent protuberance twisted and grew out of it. My teeth jiggled, I sensed them going soft, and all at once I felt my sanity being carried away. Then, at last, I understood. The Kunekune reflected in my swaying vision moved as if it were sliding along the surface of the foreign body growing out of my face. It was very similar to the plankton-like patterns that appeared in my eyes when I stared up into the blue sky. Basically, it looked like the Kunekune was standing there, but it wasn't. Like how white blood cells in the eyeball appeared to be floating when they were projected onto the blue sky. The Kunekune was, in fact, a completely different thing being projected on something that was between us and the world. This foreign body was connected to whatever that was. I understood something else, too. The reason that the first time I'd encountered the Kunekune, Toriko's rock salt had been able to drive it off. That was because I recognized something the Kunekune was projected on. When I looked at that thing and recognized it, the rock salt hid it. If I didn't recognize it, there was nothing there. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I kept shouting. I couldn't have stopped if I tried. I just shouted, I get it, over and over, as if I were screaming it. Then, suddenly, pain rushed through my cheek, as if I'd been slapped. Toriko was right in front of me. The hand she was holding the gun with was stretched out toward me, trying to wipe away the foreign body that kept on growing. It infected the fingers that touched it, turning them translucent, and they were beginning to become disfigured, but she didn't seem to care. Oh. Hey, she's a better person than I thought. While I was looking at her face, beautiful even as it was distorted by desperation, thinking about things like they had nothing to do with me, Toriko must have gotten impatient, because she grabbed my head with both hands and shouted in my face, "You're getting too much, Sorabo! Come back!" With those words, my mind was suddenly clear. Oh, right. If I went any further, there was no coming back. With my body moving slowly, as if I was in a dream, I pulled the gun from my bag and tried to take a stance. No dice. I couldn't aim. My hands were limp. I should have practiced like Toriko said to. Inhaling, I shouted, "Toriko, shoot! Shoot the kunekune!" Toriko looked at me in the eye, then gave a big nod. She let go of my face. Readying the gun, she turned and faced the kunekune. She pulled the trigger. With the dry echo of a gunshot, a hot bullet rushing forth from the muzzle, it struck something between me and the world, a membrane on which the kunekune was projected on, and shattered it. The sound, the heat, they seemed to blossom like a flower, and then rapidly shriveled. That thing folded up like origami, folding and folding, until it turned into a tiny lump, and then fell to the ground, taking the kunekune with it. Ugh. Letting out a huge sigh, I dropped the gun. Instantly, I brought my hands to my face. That foreign body that had been growing voluminously out of my mouth and face was no more. With a heaving breath, I slumped to the ground in a daze, then turned my face to look at Toriko. When I saw her hands were back to normal too, I was relieved. Then we both got super scared. We both screamed in unison, scrambling to our unsteady feet. While I was hurriedly picking up my gun, Toriko nearly tripped as she rushed over to where the kunekune had been and got down on her hands and feet. "Found it!" Jumping to her feet with a shout, Toriko held the mirror stone that was reflecting the sun in her hand. It was something, folded into a cube. We hadn't talked over what to do, but we both turned on our heels and hightailed it out of there. With the horizon being dyed purple at the edges, the darkness of evening was on its way. We raced through the wind-rustled grass, out of breath. The further we got from the scene, the harder it was not to laugh. "That was scary. Super scary," Toriko shouted. "But we did it! We hunted a kunekune! We did it, Sorrow!" "That was so crazy! Seriously, give me a break." It reminded me of when I was still young and innocent, and how, after playing until I tuckered myself out, I would race across the gold-stained field towards home. Toriko and I both laughed as we ran, incoherently, like we were insane, like children. The tears came. Thank goodness we didn't die. Thank goodness we didn't go crazy. "Sorrow, when we get back, let's have a party," Toriko suddenly said. "Huh?" I reacted with surprise, and Toriko happily went on. "There'll be money coming in, so let's celebrate. I've never had an after-party before, you know." What, she hadn't? Well, I guess I don't mind. Yay! These plains were a place I had wanted to monopolize for myself. Even now that I knew they were more bizarre and dangerous than I had initially thought, I still felt the same. But now, if I was with this strange woman, I was starting to think I wouldn't mind playing together. And that is the end of File 1 of the first story of Otherside Picnic. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. I think we have time to get through another one, so yeah, I'm going to keep going. Hello, While Running. How's it going? Hello, Cut Maniac. Let me catch up on chat real quick here before I start up the next story. Going well, big stuff. That's awesome. That's exciting, Snowbird. I'm excited to hear that. I hope it's all good stuff. Also, yes, these are piano covers of various bits of video game music. So that was probably Sora's domain at the time. I think that was correct. But yes, let's see here. File 2, Hashaku-sama Survival. In Chapter 1. In one of the older apartment buildings on campus, I was being pushed against the wall in a dark corner under the stairs. It was raining outside. With her hand on the wall as she peered into my eyes, the light behind her made Toriko Nishima's blonde hair seem to glow ever so slightly. Afternoon classes had already started, and there wasn't a soul around. Voices repeating Chinese words could be heard from a nearby classroom. That was the lecture I should have been attending. Hey, don't move. With a serious expression on her face, Toriko brought her hand to my chin, turning it to the left. Her face came in closer, practically brushing my nose. What? 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 What was with her? Was she going to bite me? As strong and forceful as Toriko was, I might have still been able to push her away or beat her up. Being the refined university girl I was, though it took time to work up the will to do these things. I was at the point where my slowly filling resort to brute force progress bar was at about 60%, while a system message displaying emotionally preparing for launch of counterattack appeared in my head when my back was pressed to the cold wall. Toriko suddenly spoke. So pretty. Huh? What are you saying, out of nowhere? While I was caught off guard and flustered, Toriko took aim with her phone and, flash, she took a photo. Look at this! On the screen of her phone was me, brow furrowed and looking this way. One of my eyes looked kind of weird. Your right eye's super blue. Toriko was right. It wasn't any ordinary blue either. It wasn't the color of any living creature. It was artificial, like a mineral, the deep azure of Ryukyu glass. When did that happen? While I was dumbstruck, my mind unable to keep up with what was happening, Toriko brought her left hand up in front of me, as if she was showing off her nails, or was a noble lady demanding I kiss the back of her hand, but it seemed the correct answer was closer to the former. The fingers on Toriko's left hand were all see-through. Her shapely nails and the flesh beneath were as transparent as the clear winter sky. It was as if her fingertips just melted into the air. Whoa, how'd you do that? Toriko angrily shook her head. This isn't something I could do myself, obviously. It's gotta be that thing's fault, the Kunekune. The other world that was unlike our own, the Otherside. We'd encountered a creepy creature called the Kunekune there, taken it out and come back alive. That was 3 days ago. I'm pretty sure the discoloration of my eye was caused by staring at the Kunekune. That thing caused bizarre changes to the human body just by being looked at, after all. As for Toriko's left hand, could it have been caused when she tried to scrape off the fungus that was growing out of my face with her bare hands? When I thought it happened because she was trying to help me, I couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Let's have someone who knows this stuff take a look, Toriko said after thinking for a while. I know someone with an interest in the other world, someone who's researching it. Oh, yeah? It's the person who wanted the mirror stone. That thing with the Kunekune, that thing that Kunekune dropped in the first place. I'm gonna be meeting with her so I can sell it anyway, so let's go together. As I listened, the furrows of my brow deepened. An Otherside researcher? And she wanted that weird thing from the Kunekune? No matter how you looked at it, she wasn't normal. This wasn't a cult or something, was it? What are you making funny faces for, Sarolo? Listen, if I'm being honest, this sounds dodgy as hell, Toriko. This person isn't taking your money, is she? If anything, I'm taking hers. If I find something odd in the other world and bring it in, she'll buy it off me. I'm ripping her off like crazy, Toriko said with a smile and a hair-pulling gesture. Minari! Hello. I really hope that wasn't audible, actually. Okay, yeah, no, it shouldn't have been. Hello, Mama Terasu sends her pack. Oh my gosh, hello, Minari. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. Hello. Hello, raiders. How's it going? How was your ASMR stream? I hope it went well. I hope you had a good time. I hope everybody's having a wonderful night. Twitch has been an ass apparently, so you gave up on it. Yeah, I was hearing people were having trouble with chat. I think I'm lucking out over the fact that I'm like doing a book, like a story reading stream tonight, which means that like I think people mostly can just listen anyways without having to do a bunch of chatting. So I think I'm kind of, you know, very bizarre way kind of spared from that. But yeah, I was hearing it's been weird tonight, so I'm sorry to hear that messed with your stream, but I hope aside from that it was good. But yes, hello everybody who came in with Minari's raid. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Sucrose Yuri Shigeki, Kumajo in training. I am a variety streamer. When I'm not doing ASMR content, I'm mostly focusing on retro style games. Fair enough. Tonight I am doing storybook reading, kind of. I'm reading from a light novel that I enjoy called Otherside Picnic. I guess to get everybody up to speed, it's a story, or a set of light novels about a number of characters, but primarily our two main characters are Toriko and Sorowo. They're two college-age girls who find basically portals to another world. And in that other world, they kind of encounter the best way I can think to put it, like for a Western analog, is like SCP monsters, and they start hunting them and bringing back remains to like sell. It's more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. And they just did their first successful hunt in the first story. We're on the second story right now, and X-Files and early SCPs, yeah. Mm-hmm. And they just, thank you so much for the follow, Melty. I appreciate it. And the hydrate and the pasture check, thank you, Minari. So they've just kind of discovered that Sorowo, who is our point of view character, her left eye has like turned like a very bright blue after her encounter, and Toriko's hand has gone like transparent. So gotta raid and run? Absolutely, no worries whatsoever. Guys, please check out Minari. Please go give her some love. She's an amazing ASMR streamer. So if you enjoy the ASMR sides of things from my end, you will enjoy her stuff as well. So please go check her out. But yes, same thing to the rest of the raiders who came in with Minari. If you guys need to raid and run, I completely understand. Please take care of yourselves post-stream. But if you do want to listen to the story, we're just at the start of file 2, so story 2 kind of. It's kind of broken up into little small stories. So right at the beginning of that, so shouldn't be too hard to follow along with. At this point, we're not too deep in, and I'm super happy to have you if you do want to stick around. Okay, let me see here. Oh, right, let me get this hydrate. But also, I do have a trigger, like ASMR trigger redeems. I am on a 3DO mic. So if you guys do want to request audio triggers, you absolutely can do that. It just will be, I'll be getting to them in between chapter breaks and the like. Okay. Let me see here. Listen, if I'm being honest, this sounds dodgy as hell. Toriko, this person isn't taking your money, is she? If anything, I'm taking hers. If I find something odd in the other world and bring it in, she'll buy it off me. I'm ripping her off like crazy, Toriko said with a smile and a hair-pulling gesture. My brow only furrowed more. You don't want to, Sorowo? Okay, I'll go with you, I reluctantly answered. If Toriko was being tricked by someone, I'd have trouble sleeping at night if I abandoned her. But if they were working together against me, I was done with her. In preparation for that, I decided I'd leave my beat her up progress bar at 60%. Great. Don't worry. This should work out nicely for you too, Sorowo. The money's good, you know? Make that 70%. Chapter 2. Just double checking real quick, making sure nothing else came through chat. Cool. Okay. Chapter 2. Walking through the rain, Toriko took me to a high-class residential district line, a short walk from Shakuji-Koen Station on the Seibu-Ikebukuro line. It was a 3-story house surrounded by a tall brick wall. The whole of it was covered in ivy, giving it a bizarre atmosphere. This is the kind of place the local kids would definitely call a haunted house. When the door opened, the entryway was made with an old-fashioned tile, and one pair of Croc sandals were neatly lined up there. But the moment we entered the house, the temperature instantly dropped. Beyond the threshold of the entrance stretched a dark corridor. I couldn't see far. When I squinted, a white shadow cut across the end of the hallway. Ugh. I almost grabbed onto Toriko, but managed to stop myself just short of it. Fortunately, she didn't seem to notice. Leaning in towards the hallway, Toriko raised her voice. "I'm here." "You're so noisy. I know. Get in here already," came a brisk female voice from deeper inside. Toriko stripped off her boots and headed in, traipsing down the hall without hesitation. I hurried after her. How many years was it since I'd been in someone else's house? Opening the door that was at the end of the hall on the left revealed a dim, cluttered room with several LCD monitors and what looked to be a young girl. She was sitting cross-legged on a chair. In her hand, she held a large mug with art by Tove Johnson printed on it. Judging by the scent wafting from it, it was filled with hot cola. In the light of her multi-display setup, the girl looked pale as an antlion. Her free-growing, messy hair had been drained of color, too. She wore a baggy t-shirt and leggings, her feet bare. How old was she? She looked like she could be in primary school, but the eyes turned on me had none of that childlike innocence. Toriko entered the room as if she were used to doing so. The hall and entrance were so empty that it would be very easy to assume the house was vacant, yet this room had books and junk piled everywhere. With care not to knock over any of the accumulated things, I followed Toriko in. On top of a tower of computer books with animals drawn on the covers, there was a self-enlightenment book of the type they sold cheap at Book Off. Next to those, a yellowed booklet on regional history shared space with a specialist magazine on modern architecture. Hanging from the ceiling were a model of an irregular-shaped polyhedron and a strange paper airplane. I had no idea what kind of specialist she was supposed to be. We also have our first illustration here. Oh, hang on. Let me... So, this is the girl in question at the computer that Sorowo is describing. Oops. Back over here. Looking at me, the girl raised an eyebrow. "Who is that?" "Sorowo, my friend." "You have a friend?" When she heard Toriko's response, the girl's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "How much did you buy her for?" "I didn't buy her. She came free," Toriko said, pursing her lips. Who is she calling free? Toriko moved some of the books off the sofa and plopped herself down. Then, patting the spot beside her, she looked up at me. "Have a seat, Sorowo. No need to be shy." "What are you saying? This is my house, you know." When I hesitated, it seemed to finally occur to Toriko that she should introduce her. "This is the acquaintance I was just telling you about, Kazakura. She studies the other world in cognitive science." "Wait, what did you tell her about me?" The girl named Kazakura turned a suspicious glance in our direction. "That you know a lot about the world on the other side." "I know a lot, huh?" Having said that in a sarcastic tone, Kazakura turned to me and gave me a half-hearted nod. "Sorowo-chan, was it? Please, have a seat." I did as she said, sitting down next to Toriko immediately. As I did, I was running mental simulations for the best way to punch Toriko out and run for it if I had to. "Since you've brought her to me, does this girl have something to do with the other world, too?" "Yep, met her over there." "My condolences." When she said that with a serious look, I didn't know how to respond. Ignoring my bewilderment, Kazakura turned to Toriko. "And?" Toriko held up her hand right in front of her eyes. "What? You want me to kiss the back of your hand now?" "No, that's not it. My fingers. Look at them." Moving her eyes, Kazakura frowned. "Ugh, disgusting. This isn't contagious, I hope." Even as she said that, Kazakura never looked away from Toriko's hand. "Thank you so much for the follow." "It's not just me. Look at Sorowo, too." Sorry, one second. Sorry about that. "It's not just me. Look at Sorowo, too." "Huh?" Kazakura rolled her chair over to me, peering into my right eye. "Is it artificial?" "No." "Huh? What's going on here?" She spoke while staring into my eyes, so I was forced to look her in the eye as I responded, whether I wanted to or not. Well, in the other side... Oh, the other side is just what I decided to call it, but anyway, Over there, we encountered it. That thing, the Kunekune. Do you know it? The famous internet horror story. You look at it and it drives you crazy. I looked at that thing for a long time, and at some point, without realizing, I ended up like this. Yeah. My face was burning. I could tell my back and armpits were dripping with sweat. Yeah, that's right. I was always super shy around other people. Looking someone in the eye and speaking in a logical way when we just met for the first time was way too difficult for me. Kozakura continued to look up at me for a while, then looked away. And you, Toriko? I touched the Kunekune and ended up like this. Well, not the Kunekune itself. Sora had been affected by it, and... Toriko explained how we first met, and the incident with the Kunekune to Kozakura. Hers was a perfect logical explanation, unlike mine. Why is it I can talk normally with her, I wonder? I looked at Toriko's face and profile, captivated by that mystery, until Kozakura's angry shouting pulled me back to my senses. You've both had an encounter of the fourth kind, yet you come in here uninvited and start touching everything? Hey, you said to come in. Shut up, you idiot. What do you mean the fourth kind? I asked hesitantly. A long time ago, Hynek divided close encounters with flying saucers into the first, second, and third kinds. The concept seems equally applicable to the other world, so I've adapted it. The fourth kind refers to cases in which the encounter has an effect on the body. That the previously unsociable Kozakura suddenly became so talkative left me feeling daunted. The first kind are simple sightings, the second kind are incursions, and the third are encounters with a living creature. As the degree of contact deepens, people are entranced by the other world. They get addicted, and some never return. Like Satsuki, Toriko mumbled to herself. Kozakura frowned and went silent. Isn't that... Toriko looked at me, then hesitantly responded. The person who disappeared on the other side. My... friend. When she said that, I remembered. Toriko was looking for someone. For her... friend. Chapter 3. Satsuki was originally my friend, actually. Kozakura explained between sips of hot cola. We were in the same class in university. I don't know where she learned about it, but she noticed the existence of the other world, then dragged me into a collaborative research project on it. In that case, this woman of an unknown age is at least old enough to be going to university? So, Kozakura-san, you also, went to the other world? No, I hardly ever went myself. In fact, I was always warning her not to because it's dangerous. When I did, soon enough, she said she'd found herself a spirited assistant, and she brought Toriko in. When I looked to her, Toriko continued the story. Satsuki was my tutor. I never went to high school in Japan, so I got into university by taking a high school equivalency exam. That's how we got to know each other. Eventually, she started to teach me more than just my studies. She taught me about the other world, and I ended up exploring it with her. Toriko's brow ceased with sadness as she continued. It would have been 3 months ago, I guess. That's when she suddenly stopped contacting me. I thought she might have gotten hurt on the other side, so I went alone to search for her a number of times, but... I told you going alone is reckless, didn't I? Kozakura grumbled. Come on, she's my friend. The way I see it, if she's in trouble, I've got to help her, right? When Toriko said that as if it were self-evident, the strong-willed light that filled her eyes was daunting, and I looked away despite myself. Her tutor and her precious friend, huh? I didn't really get it, but I was angry for some reason. Without looking at Toriko, I spoke to Kozakura. Kozakura-san, what exactly is the other world? I managed to speak normally. When I was mad, it seemed my mouth would move, and I could get some momentum going. Maybe I should just stay angry forever. What do you think? Kozakura turned the question back to me. At first, I thought it was an illusion only I could see. Until I learned other people could enter that world, I'd always been suspicious of it somehow. I see. It's not the case we have multiple people sharing the same hallucination. If you get mud on your boots over there, they're still muddy when you get back. Whatever is over there, it's real in some way. Kozukura put her mug down on the space on the desk and then leaned in closer. The other world acts in a way that appears intimately tied to human cognition. From Toriko's explanation of the Kunekune, I can hypothesize its very existence is dependent on the subjectivity of the one who encounters it. In the past, I suspected the other world might be a virtual space. However, the fact that it's possible to bring objects back from over there and the changes you two experience to your body serve as powerful proof to the contrary. Furthermore, a number of the items I've gathered from the other world thus far are, though I'm not fond of saying it this way, unable to be explained by existing science. Come to think of it, that stone from before, I hear you the one who put Toriko up to bringing you more? Yeah, I'd almost forgotten. Toriko, did you bring anything? Yep. Toriko pulled a plastic container out of her tote bag. Kozukura put on some disposable rubber gloves, carefully opening the lid and pulling out the contents of the container. It was that mirror stone, the mysterious and bizarre object left behind when we defeated the Kunekune. The faces of a cube, which shone as if polished, clearly reflected the inside of the room, except for the three of us. In that dark room, the mirror stone looked like it was wrapped in a silver halo. It's bigger than the last. Isn't it, though? We worked hard for it, Toriko said, puffing up her chest. I wish she wouldn't sum up her terrifying experience as having worked hard. When Kozukura opened a desk drawer, unceremoniously pulling out a bundle of cash, my eyes went wide. Good work. If you come across anything else, bring it in. It's a pleasure doing business. Without even counting the bills, Toriko stuffed them into her tote bag and then turned to me with a grin. It felt so unreal that I was struck dumb. So, what is this stone anyway? Toriko asked. Kozukura looked thoughtful. Let's hypothesize that the Kunekune is a living creature that gets inside humans through their sense of sight. It's better not to understand. In other words, if you recognize it, if you understand it, there's no escape. Toriko cocked her head to the side. If recognizing it lets us shoot it, wouldn't that be its weakness? There could be varying depths of understanding. Those victims who understood it sufficiently either became unable to move or lost their sanity. You survived because there were two of you. One of you to recognize it, the other one to shoot. In my head, I flashed back to the corpse that had been killed by the Kunekune. Ketchup! Hello! Welcome in! Thank you so much for the raid! How was your stream? I hope it went well. Hello, raiders. Hello. Welcome in, Ketchup. Hello, everybody who came in with Ketchup's raid. If you're not from... What? Oh my god. Hello. Oh my gosh. Double raid. Let's go. Hello, Rabio90. Oh my gosh. Welcome in. Oh my gosh. Hi. Hello. Welcome in, raiders. Oh my gosh. Welcome. Hello. Your shout out will come very, very soon, Rabo. Your shout out will come soon. We literally just got raided, so the shout out just went out, but yours will come very, very soon. I hope you also had a really good stream. I hope it was wonderful. I hope everybody is having a wonderful night. Hello, everybody who came in with the raids, either one of them. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Sukro Shigaki, Kumajo in training. I'm a variety streamer when I'm not doing... Thank you so much for the follow, your comrade. When I'm not doing ASMR content, I normally focus on retro style games. But on Sunday nights, we do cozier stuff here. Like either full ASMR streams or cozy gaming, or like tonight we are doing a book reading. I am reading from a light novel called Otherside Picnic tonight. And yeah, we are towards the beginning of the second story. I guess to give a very, very brief explanation of it. Our main characters are two college girls named Sorabo and Toriko, and they both find portals, effectively, to another world. It's kind of like void of human life and stuff, and they encounter a bunch of like SCP / like creepypasta, like internet lore style monsters on that side, and they basically start hunting them to bring remains back to sell to the person they're currently talking to right now. So they're actually speaking to the person who's buying the remains they're bringing back. What kind of monsters? The one that they just ran into in the first one was called the Kunekune, which was basically like a big, long, like the way it was described was kind of like a like stretched out humanoid, like wiggly shape, which like the description doesn't actually sound that scary, but like if in the story, if you look at it, you start going insane. And so because they like fought this thing and encountered it, Sorobo's left eye has like changed slightly. It's now like a bright blue, and Toriko's hand has gone like transparent. That hasn't really been explained as far as like what that did to them, but it will be important. You saw an anime adaptation of it? Yeah. Yes. There is an anime for it. There's also a manga for it. The light novel series is a complete story. The manga is still ongoing. The anime only had one season, unfortunately. I kind of wish it had had more. I really like this story. So, but yeah, let me see. Okay, there we go. The shout out did go out. Rabo, I hope you had a really good ASMR stream. And yeah, everybody please go give Rabo some love. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Oh my gosh. But yes, these are your people. I'm glad to hear it. So yeah, I will be continuing the reading. Thank you so much for the follow, everybody. Oh my gosh, let me see here. I realized, let's see, Your Comrade 2, Black Lagoon, Wolf Darkness, Dia Fritzy, and Jammer Dead. I appreciate the follows very, very much. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate the raid so much, Rabo. If you need to raid and run, I completely understand. Same thing goes for your raiders. If you guys need to go sleep or wind down for the evening, I completely understand that. Don't worry about it. But if you do want to hang out and listen to the book, you're more than welcome to be here, and I'm super happy to have you. I do have ASMR triggers. I do have like the 3DO mic still plugged in for that, so if it's a thing you would like to ask for, that's totally fine. This is still an ASMR stream. Exclamation point triggers. I said your name right? Oh good, I'm glad. So here, let me go ahead and do this. I'll pull this up just so you guys can see it there. But I will get to any trigger requests in between chapters. So I also will do my best, my absolute best, to respond to chat messages, but I'll similarly be doing that in between breaks in the story or chapters and the like. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it very, very much. Zach the Blueberry, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy. Also, catch up. I don't want your raid to be overshadowed either. Thank you so much for the raid on your end. I really hope your stream was also wonderful. And same thing goes for you if you need to raid and run. I completely understand. But if you want to hang out and listen to some story time, that's super wonderful. And thank you for the posture check. I appreciate it so much. Okay, let me see here. I'll start back over here because I don't remember exactly where we got to. So when is the stone anyway? Toriko asked. Kozakura looked thoughtful. Let's hypothesize that the Kunekune is a living creature that gets inside humans through their sense of sight. It's better not to understand. In other words, if you recognize it, if you understand it, there's no escape. Toriko cocked her head to the side. If recognizing it let us shoot it, wouldn't that be its weakness? There could be varying depths of understanding. Those victims who understood it sufficiently either became unable to move or lost their sanity. You survived because there were two of you, one to recognize it, one to shoot. In my head, I flashed back to the corpse that had been killed by the kunekune. The man whose name I didn't know, his fingers dug deep into both eye sockets. I knew now. He'd realized the kunekune was moving around in his vision, and he'd crushed his own eyes. Though, even after doing that, he hadn't been able to survive. When the kunekune enters your cognition, that creates an interference for contact between the human and the kunekune. When the kunekune was in Sorabo-chan's cognition, Toriko shot it, and that destroyed the interface. Or perhaps solidified it? Or perhaps crystallized it. In short, this may be Soro's cognitive interface in physical form. Kozakura pinched the mirror stone between two fingers, lifting it up to eye level. My interface? Something like the skin that forms over milk if you let it get warm, I guess. Oh, wait, that was Toriko. Whoops. Something like the skin that forms over milk if you let it get warm, I guess? While I was confused, Toriko gave her clumsy opinion. Why doesn't it reflect humans, though? Is it because Sora was a misanthrope? I glared at her despite myself, but Toriko acted like she didn't notice. Kozakura responded with a serious expression. That could well be the case, or perhaps this mirror stone is reflecting the perspective of the kunekune, which is trapped inside in some way. Gender Hidden Run, gotta record? Absolutely. Thank you so much again for the raid catch-up. I really do appreciate it. In the end, we didn't learn anything that would fix my eye or Toriko's hand. We tried asking Kozakura, but she said, "Don't ask a cognitive scientist to do a doctor's work," and cut us off. When we were outside, it was still raining. Standing beneath the eaves, I raised my heel and fixed my shoe. A wad of 10,000 yen bills was thrust in my face. When I looked up, Toriko had broken the band keeping the bundle of banknotes together and was smiling at me. Low clouds hanging in the background as a blonde beauty pushed a large sum of money towards me. It was an incredible image, unlike anything I'd seen before, and I sort of stood there in a daze. We'll split it down the middle. 500,000 each. That good with you? Yeah. I accepted it. It was money. So much money. Wow. And now you can get your smartphone fixed, huh? Huh? Oh, yeah. To tell you the truth, the first thing that came to mind was my student loan. I never did thank you properly, huh? Thanks, Zoro. No, thank you, I mumbled in response. When do you want to go next? Anytime's... Wait, no, hold on. Finally recovering from the shock the wad of cash had inflicted on me, I continued on. Nothing's been resolved at all. Not my eye nor your hand. Shouldn't we have pressed her harder for answers? If Kozakura said she doesn't know, she doesn't know. If she figures something out, she'll tell us. I guarantee. Can we trust her? We can, because Satsuki trusted her, Toriko said confidently. You were awfully close with the Satsuki-san, huh? Yep. She was more important to me than anyone. If she's lost on the other side, I've got to go save her. I didn't know what to say. It was not unlikely that the Satsuki-san had lost her life somewhere, just like that corpse which had crushed its own eyes. It shouldn't have been impossible for Toriko to imagine that. While I was hesitating to speak, Toriko smiled sadly. To be honest, I was feeling uneasy. Satsuki had told me not to go alone. That's why, when I met you over there, I was super happy. Okay. It occurred to me when we beat the kunekune, it'd be hard for me to do that alone. But if I'm with you, we might be able to find Satsuki. Huh? What was she saying? You want money, right? If you find strange things in the other world and bring them to Kozakura, she'll buy them off you, like she did today. Oh, obviously I like money too, so we'll split the take. It's not a bad deal, right? Win-win for the both of us. I stood there at a loss for words. So, what? Toriko caught me because she thought I'd be a convenient help for finding Satsuki-san? Or whatever her name was? Because she'd feel lonely skulking about by herself? I felt the anger seething up. Fine. I see how it is, I thought. If that's how Toriko wants to be, let's hurry it up and find this Satsuki-san. Once we do, I can be rid of this nuisance. Then they can go be all buddy-buddy on their own. Okay. I thought you'd say that. Without a clue as to how I felt, Toriko smiled happily. Whatever her name was. Oh, yeah. I should mention, this is technically a Yuri series. So, it's a very, very slow burn on the romance side of things. But if it wasn't already clear, Soro is crushing pretty hard on Toruo and doesn't really seem to know how to deal with that. So yeah, that's a running thing throughout the story. The two of them are definitely into each other and have no clue how to communicate that or deal with it. So Chapter 4. Just past 10 o'clock in the morning, 3 days later, I was reading a book on the first floor of Shoshin Grande bookstore in Jimbusho when Toriko turned up late. Did I keep you waiting? 15 minutes. Isn't this where you're supposed to say, I just got here? Did you think this was a date or something? I said curtly, heading outside without listening to her response. Toriko followed. It was raining outside, same as ever, but neither of us put up an umbrella. We were just so it didn't matter if we got wet today. Toriko and I were wearing the same clothes we wore the first time we'd met. Me in my Uniqlo fleece, camouflage pants, and sneakers. Toriko in her army surplus jacket and jeans. She had lace-up boots on her feet. Sorowo, did you bring the gun? She asked bluntly. Fortunately, no one was around to overhear and object, but I couldn't help but speak in a tiny voice when I replied. I did, just in case. I'd bought a holster at a survival game specialty store, and it was wrapped together with the Marikov in my waist pouch. It was a leg holster, the kind that hung from your thigh. I'd bought exactly what the shopkeeper suggested. We entered that tall, thin building from before, and headed for the elevator. I watched the order Toriko pressed the buttons in and took notes. 4, 2, 6, 2, 10, 5. When we got to the 5th floor, the woman with no visible face ran to catch the elevator again. It was so scary I shut my eyes. 1, 3, 8, 2, 7, 10. The numbers on the display changed to something unreadable at some point. Then eventually the elevator stopped on the roof. That pitch black floor we'd seen last time never appeared. The door opened, and a damp wind blew in. I stepped out onto the empty roof with Toriko. It was gloomy beneath the cloudy sky. There was no rain. Looking out from the roof, I could see the shadows of the clouds drifting across the uneven plains. At the distant edge of the mountains, there was a strangely angular cloud that looked like a blocking artifact. It sparked with lightning and showered that area in a torrential downpour. It was the first violent weather effect I'd seen in the other world, but it was a mystery that we couldn't hear any thunder. All we heard was the howling wind and rustling of the grass. When I looked along the foot of the mountains, for a moment, I felt like I saw something triangular moving between the branches of the trees. It was too far off to figure out what it really was. Oh my gosh, CK! Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, welcome in. Hello, hello. Hang on. Let me see. You were doing an art stream. I hope it went well. Thank you so much for the raid. Hello. Yeah, 3 raids. Yeah, we actually had we had a raid before that too tonight. Actually, I've been very lucky with raids tonight. I very much appreciate it. But yes. Hello, everybody who came in with CK's stream. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Sukro Sudi Shigeki, Kumasho in training. I am a variety streamer. When I'm not doing ASMR content, I usually focus on retro-style stuff. A lot of JRPGs, platformers, Metroidvanias, stuff like that. But Sunday nights we do cozier content here. Tonight I am reading a light novel called Otherside Picnic, so kind of doing some story time here. Always a great place to stop off at the end of the day. Aw, I appreciate that very, very much. If you need to raid and run, though, I completely understand. Please take care of yourselves post-stream. Same thing goes for your raiders. But if you want to hang out and listen to the story, you're more... do I game on my phone, too? A little. I don't usually do mobile games on stream. Well, I mean, I do some games on stream that are also mobile games, but not a whole lot of, like, I don't have the means to, actually, like, cast my, like, I don't have the means to actually, like, put my phone screen up on stream now that I think about it. But I have done games that exist on mobile before as well. So, but normally it's stuff from like the SNES through like PS2 ish era, and then like a lot of more modern games that are like styled after those kinds of things. So, but yeah, it's been a minute since I've done like Hoyoverse stuff, but I have done both on stream and off stream a lot of Hoyoverse stuff, like mostly Star Rail and Zenless. But in any case, I will be doing my best to get to like answer chat messages and any ASMR trigger requests that come through. But because we're reading a story tonight, I'll be like checking in on chat basically in between chapters and like breaks in the story and stuff. Okay, let me see here. Okay, where was I at? Let me see. I think we had just... Yeah, it's just gotten to the end of the page. We descended the creaking steel ladder on the outside of the skeletal frame of the building, then checked our equipment when we got down to the ground. Once I'd attached the holster to my thigh and felt the weight of the Makarov, I relaxed just a little. The fact that bullets had worked on the Kunekune played a large part in that. Like Dutch Schufer said, if it bleeds, we can kill it. I may have pronounced that name wrong. Not that the Kunekune had bled at all, though. Taking our experience from last time into consideration, I'd brought gloves too, trekking gloves from the Ikebukuro Seibu's sporting goods section. Toriko had thick gloves with pads on the back. They were called tactical gloves, apparently. Once I was fully outfitted, I stood up. So, if we're looking for Satsuki-san, where should we go? I've been to the north and east a number of times, but never found her. When I went to the west, I met you. I think you'd know that area better than I do. Were there any signs of other people? I wasn't really composed enough to be looking, but it felt like the marsh just went on forever. Makarov is a funny nod to the original roadside... Oh, is it really? I didn't know that. I wasn't really composed enough to be looking, but it felt like the marsh just went on forever. What else? Isn't there anywhere Satsuki-san was likely to have gone? She wasn't exactly the type to discuss future plans. That surprisingly unreliable answer irritated me. Well, can I decide then? When I looked from up top, I saw something like a ruined building to the southwest. If you haven't been there, let's set that as our goal. If your friend's injured and unable to move, she might take shelter in a building with a roof, right? Got it. Toriko nodded without objection. Diverting from the footpath from the east to west that passed in front of the skeletal building, we headed into the plains. It had seemed to be close when I was looking down from above, but once we got walking, it wasn't really. The whitish ruin we could see ahead of us just wasn't getting any closer. We continued to walk on in silence, occasionally consulting the compass. The needle sometimes twitched or spun around as if confused before pointing to the north, though, which was kind of suspicious. Suruo, are you in a bad mood or something? Toriko, who was walking behind me, asked. I hate when people aren't clear about things, so if something's up, say so. Not really. It just occurred to me you've put surprisingly little thought into this. What do you mean? You're firmly resolved to save your friend, but it seemed like you hadn't put any thought into how you were going to do that. If you're going to call me out on that, yeah. I know in my head that I can't hurry too much, but when I think of Satsuki being in trouble, I just can't sit still, Toriko replied in a troubled tone. Huh. You seem awfully concerned for her. Because Satsuki was my only friend. Oh, yeah? Well, I hope you find her then. Toriko went quiet for a bit before speaking again. Hey, Sorolo, that isn't very nice. What do you mean, that? That sulky tone of voice. Could you stop acting like a child? Thank you so much for the follow. I snapped, turning back to face her. I ought to say... It was just as I was about to give her a piece of my mind when I suddenly heard a man's voice. It made me freeze. Stop. In the grass, not 10 meters away, was a man I didn't know. Over his camouflage clothing, he wore a thick coat with dried leaves woven into it, and was carrying a big gun like I'd seen in the movies. One of those AK something or others. He didn't have it readied. The barrel was pointing at the ground. He had a swarthy face full of stubble, and there was a glint in his wide eyes. Don't move, Toriko shouted in a sharp voice. Thank you. When I looked, Toriko had her gun drawn and was aiming straight at the man. The man stopped, taking his hand off the AK, and turned his palms to Toriko as if signaling for her to stop. If you go any further, you'll die. It's a glitch. A glitch? What's that? Whatever, just drop the gun. I refuse. I just saved your lives. Look. The man slowly lowered his right hand, putting his fingers onto a small bag hanging from his belt and pulling out a metal bolt. Look closely, he said once more before tossing the bolt. It hit about a meter in front of me. Shaban! There was a sound I'd never heard before and a flash of light. I closed my eyes reflexively, and my face felt hot. When I hesitantly opened my eyes again, I gulped. The bolt was stopped in midair. The red-hot metal was wavering on the other side of the hot air. What is this? Toriko whispered from behind me. As we watched, the bolt blackened at the end and shriveled away. That wasn't how metal burns. It was like a match being struck. Soon the entire bolt was a burned husk and fell to the ground. There was an area in the middle of the grass with a diameter of about 60 centimeters where nothing grew, and it was surrounded by ash. I stumbled backwards. The blood drained from my face. If I'd stepped forward, who knew it would have happened? As I sunk to the ground, someone gently caught me from behind. It was Toriko supporting me. The man reshouldered his AK, the grass rustling as he approached. It's a toaster. You step into it, it'll fry you to the marrow. It reduces things to ash in an instant, so you can't even cook with it. The zone's full of these sorts of dangerous glitches. What are glitches? Dangerous spatial anomalies, supernatural traps. Walking through an area with such poor visibility without confirming what's in front of you is practically suicide. In the middle of talking, the man trailed off. His eyes were suddenly unfocused, and it wasn't clear where he was looking. Michiko? Huh? I turned, thinking there might be someone else there, but there wasn't anyone else on the plains as far as the eye could see. Toriko was watching the man suspiciously, too. Michiko, is that you? You've come back? Why are there two of you? The man closed in, his face contorted with emotion. I was shocked and struggled to get to my feet. Toriko took aim again and shouted, Calm down, old man. I'll shoot. With the gun trained on him, the man came to a stop. Bewildered, he continued to speak. Michiko. I'm not Michiko. Take a closer look, old man. Sanity gradually returned to the man's eyes. Oh, sorry. You two aren't Michiko. Shaking his head, he exhaled. I got confused. I'm fine now. Really? It's true. Please, lower the gun. I'm really fine. In contrast to his words, the man had a look of severe disappointment on his face. I thought he might start crying. We watched tensely as he covered his face with both hands, then let out a long sigh. Toriko waited for me to stand, then slowly lowered her gun. Sorry, one sec, just catching up on chat since we're between chapters here. Okay. I think there was a hydrate in there. Let me get that. Chapter 5. The man gave his name as Abarato. He said he'd come to the other world in search of his wife, who had mysteriously vanished. I'm sorry. I've been searching for my wife so long. When I saw you two, it seems I mistook you for her. I'm truly sorry. Right, I replied dubiously. This went beyond a case of mistaken identity, didn't it? Wasn't it kind of weird that he would hallucinate both of us were his wife at the same time? As he got closer, I realized something. Thank you so much for the bed, Sparring. Also, as he got closer, I realized something. The old guy stank. I had thought his swarthy complexion was a tan or something, but he was all grimy. His hair was all stiff, too. I couldn't even guess how long it must have been since he'd last bathed. About how long have you been here? This is my 38th day this time. The immediate answer caught me by surprise. Toriko seemed not to have expected it either, and asked him about it. You've been spending that much time here? You don't go home? I do go back occasionally when I need to resupply. Otherwise, I'm here all the time. There's no point returning to a world without my wife. You really cared a lot about her, huh? I tried to say something harmless and inconsequential, but I magnificently failed to do so. Aberrato glared at me, responding with indignation. No, it's not I cared about her. I care about her, now and forever. Michiko is alive. She's waiting for me to save her. Thank you so much for the follow. I'm sorry. Seeing me cower, Aberrato's expression softened a little. No, I'm sorry. I lost my temper there. There's no point getting angry at you. I looked at Aberrato, still tense. This man had, in a short time frame, blown up and then apologized twice now. He was clearly unstable. He wasn't aiming his gun at us now, but there was no telling what might set him off. We were still newlyweds. It was an arranged marriage, but we bonded over our taste in movies and became close in no time. Unprompted, Aberrato launched into the story of how he and his wife, Michiko-san, had met. It was almost a year since we had gotten married. One summer night, we had been drinking beer and snacking on edamame after work, and we were about to watch a movie together. I went to my room, then called out to my wife in the living room, asking which movie she wanted. Aberrato's words cut off. There was no response. When I returned, my wife was gone. There was nowhere to hide in our tiny apartment. There wasn't any sign of her having gone outside, either. I was gone for maybe 10 seconds. In that time, my wife suddenly vanished, leaving no trace, just a warm depression in the cushion she'd been sitting on, and a second beer she'd just poured. It must have been painful to remember, because his voice trembled. It took a long time for me to digest the situation. Once I'd accepted the fact of her disappearance, I searched for her like a madman, but I had no leads, and no idea where to look for more. Grasping at whatever straws I could find, I consulted mediums and shamans. One of them told me that Michiko had met with a kamikakushi. Kamikakushi? Toriko mumbled the words to herself, looking at me questioningly. Stories about people vanishing without any warning were not uncommon in folklore. In old times in Japan, this was called kamikakushi, which means to be hidden away by the gods. People would be dragged off to other worlds, or wander into them, never to return. In the story of Sabato no Baba from Tono Monogatari, the girl who disappeared manages to return once, but then vanishes again. I hear that stories about being sucked into the fourth dimension were popular in the 70s and 80s. When I was researching this as part of my interest in true ghost stories, one thing that caught my attention was the rise in urban legends and net lore about entering another world, where someone sets foot in a place similar to the world they know, but warped in strange ways when examined closer, making them flee in terror. These sorts of stories had seen a marked rise in the last 10 years or so. There was a time when I'd taken them as no more than stories, but now I was forced to acknowledge there was a shred of truth in them. Though, as for whether I believed in the other world before I saw it myself... And you believed that? I hesitantly asked, to which Aberrato nodded. My wife had been abducted by someone. She'd evaporated of her own will, mental derangement. I looked into all the possibilities. Yet none of them made sense to me. That being the case, I was forced to consider a preternatural cause. Someone had snatched my wife away from the world I knew. I investigated. I searched for a lead on where the victims of the Kamikakushi were spirited away to. I pored through old stories, folklore, and legends to find a way to contact other worlds. I apprenticed with a shifty shaman. I fasted, sat under waterfalls, did anything. Then, at last, I found the zone. Abarato waved his hand, gesturing to the other world around us. The entrance was at an abandoned shrine in Chishibu. There were rumors that some youngsters had up and vanished while doing a test of courage at the place. I searched through the records to find if there was any truth to that, and I was able to locate one of the people involved in that test of courage and hear their story. While I was investigating the site, just for an instant, I passed through a torii gate. I saw the dry field of grass swaying, like some sort of phantasm. With repeated trial and error, I learned that by passing through that torii at a specific time and angle, it was possible to enter that field. While listening to his story, I became frightened. Abarato told the story plainly enough, but I couldn't imagine how much time and effort must have been left out of this brief version of his investigation. Abarato blinked, as if coming back to his senses, then looked at us in puzzlement. By the way, who are you girls? Why have you come here? The same reason. An important friend went missing here. When Toriko responded, Abarato nodded repeatedly as if he understood. He started to get misty-eyed. I see. It must have been hard for you. Abarato strode over and took Toriko's hand. My eyes bulged. She was so vulnerable as he closed in. Toriko hadn't even had time to react. After an enthusiastic and one-sided handshake, Abarato turned to me. You came here together to find your friend, right? While I was mumbling, Abarato came to his own conclusion, nodding to himself once again. I get it. Really, I do. You just couldn't sit still. I was the same. You lost someone so precious to you, and no one else will understand. It's painful, I know. Well... While I was at a loss for how to respond, I tried to catch Toriko's eye over Abarato's shoulder and was shocked. Toriko's eyes were just as moist as his. Oh, hold on. What are you sympathizing with him for? I came close to shouting that at her, but maybe it was only natural. She would. The old guy was in the same position as Toriko. I'm different. While I stood there, unable to do anything, Abarato made a proposal to Toriko. You girls don't seem used to the zone yet. If you'd like, I can show you a safe route. You wouldn't mind? Toriko asked. Yeah. I can't just watch you girls walk into a glitch in front of my eyes. You heard the man. This is great, huh, Sorowo? Toriko turned to me, speaking with a flawless smile. I could only nod. But really decided to dump his entire life tragedy on two random strangers. I mean, yeah, he's a little, he was just said that, like, he'd been there completely alone for, like, 38 days. And, yeah, he's not all there. A sad exposition guy, kinda, yeah. Chapter 6. Always throw something ahead of you as you walk. If you have nothing to throw, poke at it with a long stick. Abarato took the lead, throwing bolts ahead of us as we walked. He had a carpenter or construction worker's nails bag around his waist, and in it, he said he kept a large supply of nuts and bolts. This world is full of death. There are traps everywhere, yet we can't see them. Like he said, the bolts Abarato threw would fly up high into the sky as we watched, to be melted to slag, making the presence of a hidden glitch apparent. Was it just good luck that neither Toriko nor I had tripped one yet? Abarato had his own name for the glitches. Buddhist altar rice was a glitch that was a white mass that looked like ground meat, jutting out of the ground in a cone. When approached, it let out an ear-piercing metallic sound that resembled that of a dentist drill. One looked like a jungle gem composed of hair. A mist net was almost invisible, and the bolt passed through it too, so if it hadn't been for the bird's feather hanging there, we would have walked right into it. Glitches like the toaster, where he actually knew how they functioned, were the minority. For many glitches, all he really knew was that something was there. You don't try to find out? I asked. Unless I need to in order to move forward. It's faster to work my way around. I'm not here to research the zone, after all. Kazakura would have taken an interest. As for me, whenever a new glitch appeared, I was fascinated to the point of wanting to stop and observe it. That said, even without Alvarado's warning, each glitch gave off a dangerous enough impression that I had no intent of approaching them. It's not just glitches. There are strange creatures that roam the zone. Some are like warped versions of animals and plants we know, while others are disgusting and will make you vomit at just the mere sight of them. If you haven't encountered any yet, you're fortunate. I gave him a vague smile. What would this guy's reaction be if he heard we had come to this other world to hunt a kunekune before? Still, the thought that there might be other creatures that were even more disgusting made me flinch. Maybe I'd need to practice with the gun a little after all. The abandoned building we were heading towards gradually got closer. Its concrete surface was pockmarked, as it had been riddled by heavy gunfire, and reminded me of a mass of coral that had turned white after dying. Toriko called out to Alvarado, who was walking ahead of us. Hey, I should have asked this first, but you haven't run into anyone, have you? A woman, tall, with long black hair, glasses, and a nasty look in her eyes. Those features she described, was that Satsuki-san? Sorry, not ringing any bells. It's rare to encounter other people in the zone to begin with, and when I do spot them, I do my best not to approach. Why? Because it could be one of them. Alvarado lowered his voice. They're everywhere, watching us. They'll tap your phone, steal your mail, follow you in groups to harass you, spread bad rumors online. Reporting them is no help. They've infiltrated the police, too. Cautiously, Alvarado continued. You two, are you safe on the other side? Have you ever been pushed from behind on a station platform? Ever had strange symbols written on your doorplate? They imitate humans, hiding in our society. Even if you blow the whistle on them, no one will believe you. Alvarado continued, as if talking to himself. Toriko turned back, and we exchanged glances. I shook my head. I had no idea what he was talking about. Who are they? Denizens of the zone. They sneak into our world and they abduct people. They took Michiko. Alvarado's voice was distorted with anger and hatred. This is... I gulped. This incoherent suspicion. I hadn't taken any credit in psychology, but I could still tell. Alvarado wasn't sane. He was an emotionally unstable man, fully immersed in conspiracy theories, and he was carrying an AK. This guy's bad news. Like, really bad. There's no telling when he might decide we're with them. We'd better not stimulate him any more than necessary, I was thinking. But then Toriko went and opened her mouth. How do you know that we aren't them? No, don't say that. I was sweating bullets, but Alvarado's response stayed calm. When I first spotted you two, I was intending to hide. However, as you approached, you seemed so very... human. I couldn't help but call out to you. We seemed human? You two were arguing about something, right? As far as I'm aware, they don't do that. They don't have emotions like humans do, you see. I had complicated feelings about this. Basically, the only reason we didn't get fried by the toaster was that Toriko and I had been squabbling. You say that like you've seen them before, have you? Alvarado gave a big nod. Yeah. In the zone. I've spotted what looked like humans a number of times. I thought it might be Michiko, or if not her, someone else who wandered into this place, so I approached, but none of them were. One had a human form, but stood there like a tree, never reacting, while another was like someone had tried to make a human out of clay, only to abandon it part way. They were strange beings. And outside the zone? I already told you, didn't I? In our world, they imitate humans. They laugh at me behind my back, then act like nothing happened when I turn to look. They step on my foot on the train and treat me like a molester when I glare at them. They sneakily take videos, then put them online. Alvarado's words trailed off. He came to a stop, crouching low to the ground. Another glitch? Toriko asked. No. Even as he said that, Alvarado made no attempt to stand. Toriko and I, who had caught up to him, looked at one another. Look. There's footsteps. Can you tell? Where Alvarado pointed, there was a slight depression in the ground. I could see the grass was bent at the root. It looked like someone had pushed a pole down against it, but was it a footstep? Toriko crouched next to Alvarado. She got down on all fours, bringing her face close to the ground like a dog. Going towards that building, huh? Alvarado muttered. He meant the abandoned building we'd been heading for. Hey, Toriko, looking at the footsteps, did they tell you anything? I called out for her from behind. Toriko raised her head. I don't know, but it could be Satsuki. Let's go. Her eager response made me wince. I questioned what she could possibly tell from such an uncertain track, but seeing how Toriko looked, I couldn't bring myself to say it. Oh, yeah? Here's hoping. My response was colder than I intended, which disturbed me. Alvarado stood up, and without another word to us, started walking again. I caught a glimpse of his eyes, which were glazed. Michiko, are you there? Just wait. I'm coming to save you now. Mumbling his wife's name to himself, he walked forward through the grass. Toriko stood up, too, and followed behind him. I watched them from behind with a miserable feeling. I knew it wasn't right to take my frustration out on her. Toriko wasn't in the wrong here. She was just desperate to help her precious friend. I'd placed my hopes in her, then started feeling betrayed all on my own. It was pathetic. Even though I was vaguely aware of that, I turned my unjustified anger against Toriko. Tormented by my feelings of alienation and self-loathing, I followed. Kind of empathize when shit like this don't exist. It's hard to judge if you... Right. No, yeah, like it does actually, like, because, like, Sora is definitely like, oh no, this guy's completely bonkers right now, but, like, she also starts encountering things outside of, like, the other side, too, in the real world, so it's like, how crazy is he? Probably a little, but how much? Not sure. Chapter 7. As we approached the white building, Alvarado's pace quickened, ultimately turning into what was almost a run. He'd been so cautious before, but it was like he'd completely forgotten about glitches now. Toriko followed behind him, while I kept up with her, wheezing as I did so. I was watching anxiously for Alvarado to burst into flames or get blown away or die to some other incredible death, but fortunately it never happened, and he reached the building unharmed. The abandoned 3-floor building stretched out horizontally, which... Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Welcome in. Oh, wait, did I just move that? Oops, let me fix that. There we go. Hello. Oh my gosh. Welcome in. Is it, Purigai? Do I have that pronunciation right? I hope I do. Thank you so much for the raid. You were doing an ASMR stream also. I hope it went well. Oh my gosh. Pooty party. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the follows. Hello, everybody who came in with Puriari's raid. Went well? Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I am extremely grateful. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. But yes, hello, everybody who came in with Puriari's raid. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Sukrasidi Shigeki Kumajo in training. I am a variety streamer. When I am not doing ASMR content, I'm mostly focusing on retro-style games, stuff from, like, SNES through PS2 era, sometimes a bit beyond that as well, or more modern stuff that's kind of, made in the retro style. But on Sunday nights, we do cozier content here. Sometimes full ASMR streams, sometimes cozy games. Is that the Hollow Knight OST? I believe it is, yeah. Yes, it is. It's Resting Ground, I believe, from Silksong. Yeah, the playlist that's playing right now is it's a set of piano covers of video game music. So, Oh, posture check. Thank you. Thank you for the posture check. But yeah, tonight I am reading reading from a light novel called Otherside Picnic. It's a series I particularly enjoy. There is also an anime and manga adaptation of it out there that you may or may not have seen before. It's a story about two girls who find their way into an alternate world, basically, that seems basically devoid of human life, and they start going there to kind of hunt monsters and stuff, and one of the two's friend, quote unquote, had gotten lost there, and she's looking for her. We are most of the way through the second story of it right now. And yeah, if you want to hang out and listen to the story, that's super cool, and you're more than welcome to be here. But also, if you need to raid and run, I completely understand. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Padiari. I appreciate it. Reads like wild Otherside Picnic anime fanfiction. You love it. I'm glad. I like the story a lot. But yeah, if you need to raid and run, same thing goes for your raiders. If you guys need to head out, if you need to go to bed, if you need to move on to other things, that's totally fine. Completely understand. But if you do want to hang out and listen to some story time, you're more than welcome to be here. And I'm super, super happy to have you again. Thank you again so much for the raid. I really do appreciate it very, very much. I will be trying to respond to chat messages and ASMR trigger requests if they come in as often as I can, but I'll be doing it mostly in between chapters and like breaks in the story. So I promise I'm not ignoring chat. I promise I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm just going to be a little slow at responding. So, Chapter 7. As we approached the white building, Alvarado's pace quickened, ultimately turning into what was almost a run. He'd been so cautious before, but it was like he'd completely forgotten about glitches now. Toriko followed behind him, while I kept up with her, wheezing as I did so. I was watching anxiously for Alvarado to burst into flames, or get blown away, or die some other incredible death, but fortunately it never happened, and he reached the building unharmed. The abandoned 3-floor building stretched out horizontally, which made me think of a school in some way. Its wide-open entrance had no door. It was gloomy inside, and I could vaguely see what looked like steps between thin pieces of lumber. "Look, there's no questioning it. The footsteps continue inside," Alvarado shouted, pointing to the grassless area which spread out in front of the building. In the exposed ground, littered with chunks that had broken off and fallen from the walls of the building, there were depressions like the one we'd seen before. They did seem to head towards the building, as Alvarado claimed, but I felt there was something off about the now much clearer details of the indentations. Thank you for the follow, by the way. They weren't foot-shaped. They were circles, about 30 centimeters across, with straight line patterns, like a typeface used on a high-quality ink on seal. The stride was maybe 2 meters. No, there was no way these were footprints. Not human ones, at least. Hey, Toriko. I tried to stop her, but even as I was calling her name, Toriko passed through the door following Alvarado. Driven by rising unease, I went after her. When I entered the abandoned building, the difference in light levels blinded me for a moment. Toriko and Alvarado had just stopped inside the door. The floors inside that building had all collapsed, leaving no ceilings, and dim bands of light that shone through the windows that lined the walls were all shining on a single human figure standing in the center. It was a woman. She was tall, very tall. Easily standing at 2 meters or taller, she wore a long, pure white dress. She was facing away from us, and her long black hair cascaded down her back. A single name flashed through my mind: Hashaku-sama, a monster with a height of 8 feet, so about 240 centimeters, and a female appearance that attacked young men. She was a famous internet ghost story, just like the Kunekune. Satsuki? When Toriko whispered that, I doubted my ears. What? Your friend was that huge? No. Or she shouldn't be, at least, but somehow I'm feeling nostalgic, Toriko replied without looking back. Nostalgic? Bewildered by the unexpected word, I hesitantly looked back to the woman. We'd made a lot of noise barging in. She couldn't have failed to notice us, but the woman didn't budge. She just stood there, her back turned to us. The bizarrely tall woman was one template for a monster that had existed since long, long ago. Take the Yamabito from Tunomonogatari, for instance. They were tall and had unusually long black hair, a typical mark of a monster. While I stared at her, I started to understand what Toriko meant. Thank you for the hydrate. Hang on one second. While I stared at her, I started to understand what Toriko meant. Even though the woman looked kind of massive and suspicious, there was this deep throbbing in my chest, and it was growing ever stronger. It was a loneliness that made me want to burst into tears, like the excitement of seeing someone you haven't been able to for a long time. When I rubbed my eyes, which had misted up on their own, I noticed something even stranger. For an instant, the woman vanished, and I saw something else there. It was a frame-like construct, made with two thin pillars overlapping. Did that make sense? I tried to focus on it, but it wasn't working. I blinked repeatedly, and finally started being able to see the woman appear to overlap with that construct. Toriko, that frame, what do you think it is? What do you mean? Where she's standing, there's something there, isn't there? Toriko went silent for a moment, then gently cocked her head to the side. I don't see it. I don't see anything. Absolutely. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for hanging out. I don't see it. I don't see anything. When she said that, it troubled me. I could see it so clearly. The construct, which appeared superimposed over the woman, was supported by two straight pillars. The lower one didn't touch the ground, and seemed to be floating slightly. The upper one had a number of horizontal bars intersecting it. Taken on the whole, it looked like a poorly balanced drawing compass, or a warped torii gate. The true ghost stories I had read before flashed through my memory. Making metallic sounds and white flashes as they went up and down the mountain, the compass men of Hyogo. Several sightings of an inverted torii that traveled the mountainside late at night. The pseudo-torii was outlined by a faint light, and it felt wrong, like a badly shopped image. It was a silver halo, shining just like the mirror stone when I saw it at Kozakura's house. I was about to ask Toriko if she couldn't see the light either, but the two in front of me jumped a bit. A moment later, I noticed it too. The woman was turning. Her black hair swayed fluidly, and her head, in its high position, slowly swiveled. Once it had turned to its left extremity, it stopped. The profile of her face, which was peeking over her shoulder, was obstructed by a screen of her hair, which made it hard to be sure whether or not she was looking in our direction. After her head, it was her shoulders. Her left shoulder turned to face us, then her long torso started to twist. Simultaneously, that inexplicable feeling of nostalgia, which had been tormenting me all this time, assaulted me, as if the volume had just been turned up on it. I want to go home. To go back. I want to see that person. I felt something catch in my chest, and came close to sobbing. Where was I going home to? Who was that person? I had no idea. Yet the emotion continued to rise on its own, even with no target. The superimposed pseudo-torii moved at the same time as the woman. When one leg touched the ground, it pivoted on that point. There was a puh sound from somewhere. It sounded like a bubble forming, or like when your ears pop from a change in air pressure. Puh, 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 puh. I heard that continuous bubbling, popping sound, and at the same time, the space between the torii's legs began to change color. It was gradually stained a deep blue. However, neither Toriko nor Aberrato showed any reaction to that. Oh. In the blink of an eye, I had a sudden realization. If this pseudo-torii was only visible to me, then the cause had to be... I closed my right eye as a test. Instantly, the pseudo-torii vanished. I knew it. I closed my left eye, looking with only my right. This time, it was the woman's form that vanished, leaving only the pseudo-torii standing there. My two eyes were seeing two different things at the same time. When the pseudo-torii pivoted, the blue light grew stronger. Whether I liked it or not, it reminded me of the time I first met Toriko. The world of blue had seemed through the peephole of that door of that abandoned building in Umiya, which was connected to this other world. The blue leaking from that pseudo-torii was the same vivid blue. My sense of danger rose faster and faster. It was dangerous to be here, but I wanted to approach that blue light. Then Aberrato, who had been silent all this time, suddenly roared, "Michiko!" Without so much as looking at me, Aberrato fixed his eyes on the woman, his whole body shuddering. I was shocked. "At last! I found you at last! I'm sure of it!" That's her? It's not, right? "No, it's Michiko. Alberto declared. Yes, Michiko wasn't that tall, and her hair was shorter, but I can tell that's Michiko. Look, she looks more and more like her. She's getting shorter. Mumbling to himself, Alberto stumbled forward. Hold on. I grabbed his pack, trying to stop him, but Alberto walked on without looking back. His pack slipped from his fingers, falling to the ground with a loud thud. Pulled down by the shoulder straps, his AK rolled across the rubble. Alberto continued walking, seemingly unconcerned. I knew it. I'm sorry I made you wait, Michiko. With a tearful wail, Alberto dashed towards Hashaku-sama. Here's how it looked to my right eye. When he approached the pseudo-Tori, Alberto's entire body was dyed in the blue light. There was this expression of shock on Alberto's face. Maybe he realized that the woman before him was not Michiko-san, or maybe he saw something entirely different in the blue light. Alberto stopped, as though frozen stiff, and then he vanished. A moment later, pop! That popping sound reached my ears. With a mix of danger and nostalgia, I stood there assaulted by a whirling eddy of incomprehensible emotions. There was something inside me that envied Alberto for having disappeared beyond the blue light. My reason screamed at me to run, but my body didn't move. Then it happened. Toriko, who was standing in front of me, began walking towards the woman. Instantly, I grabbed her arm. I have to go. Satsuki's there. Ignoring her self-directed mumbling, I tightened my grip. It hurts. Let go, Sorolo. No can do. Stop. Toriko shook her head. Ever since we entered this building, Toriko hadn't looked back at me once. Come on, it's Satsuki. She's right there. No, she's not. Seeing Toriko start to talk like Alberto made me shudder. For the two of them, Hashaku-sama apparently looked like the important people they so badly wanted to see. It superimposed the image of someone close to its victim onto itself, then kamikakushi'd its tricked prey. Was that the kind of being it was? If so, why had I not been tricked by it? Because my right eye had seen its true form? Or because unlike the other two, I had no one precious to me? Toriko was still trying to shake me off and head towards the woman, repeatedly calling the name of her friend I didn't know. Satsuki is... Why, you... The blood rushed to my head. You don't know how I feel. The progress bar of my feelings reached 100%, and the next thing I knew I was shouting. Don't leave me behind, you idiot! I wasn't used to shouting, and my voice caught in my throat, making me sound whiny and shrill. I let out such a pitiful voice in an attempt to get Toriko's attention. Don't leave me alone! Don't go! What was coming out of my mouth was no more than childish begging, but maybe it reached her ears. Toriko stopped. Toriko stubbornly refused to turn and look back, so I reached out for her shoulder to turn her face in my direction, and... Sororo, no! There was a shout from behind me, snapping me back to my senses. What are you doing? You can't go near it! The voice calling after me belonged to Toriko, but why from behind me? She should have been in front of me. I blinked in bewilderment, and suddenly realized it wasn't Toriko's arm I was holding. It was Hashaku-sama. I was grasping the living arm of Hashaku-sama. Then reality assaulted me from my left eye's view. The feeling in my palm was cool, moist, and soft. Still unable to think, I looked up. The veins were visible through her smooth skin. Following the curve of that arm up the side of her dress-covered torso, beyond the wet luster of the black hair which cascaded over her bare shoulders, a set of arched lips peered out, and above their intense rainbow color, my eyes were inevitably drawn to... Suddenly a gunshot rang out, knocking Hashaku-sama's head back. I ducked my head, looking behind me to see Toriko holding her Makarov with two hands. Get down! I didn't squat because I'd heard and understand the command so much as I was intimidated by the force of it. Toriko fired the Makarov 3 more times, then raced over to me. Come on, get up! Where were you planning on going, Sororo? While I was confused and unable to understand the situation, Toriko pulled on my arm, taking me away from Hashaku-sama. What was I doing? You ran after the old man, mumbling nonsense to yourself. With a furrowed brow, Toriko shook her head. Don't leave me alone? That ought to be my line. Having finally digested the situation, I shuddered. I'd let my guard down. It had tricked me, too. This thing lured Alvarado in with the illusion that his wife was there. It did the same to me, taking advantage of my feelings for Toriko. What? How embarrassing. I squirmed as an incomprehensible mix of terror and shame hit me. The monster's overlapping images of the pseudo-Tori and its female form showed no damage from Toriko's shots. It was still standing there. Its pull remained strong, so not only could I not run, it took all I had just to hold my ground where I was. Sorrow, how are we supposed to take this thing out? Toriko asked me, as if that were the natural thing to do. Did that mean she trusted me? Wasn't she just sloughing responsibility off on me? Even as I thought that, I somehow managed to regain my focus and said, I'm thinking about it now. The nostalgia, the image of his wife which pulled Alvarado in, the form of the 8-foot woman, all of them were illusions. We were being made to hallucinate. What was it that was really here right now? Hallucinations. Last time the Kunekune tried to invade our bodies through our sense of sight. When it did, that created a hallucination in my perception regarding where the Kunekune was located. Could it be the same with Hashaku-sama? When the creatures of the other world came into contact with humans, did they always cause some sort of hallucination? Or was I getting that backwards, and they were trying to make contact with humans by way of these hallucinations? It might be that their contact with my right eye was what allowed me to see their true forms now. If so, it was worth trying the same method as before. I focused strongly on the vision in my right eye. Hishaku-sama's form faded, and all I saw was the pseudo-Tori. Toriko, try shooting her in the head. When I said that, Toriko nodded, and she pulled the trigger on the Makarov. The bullet struck one of the pseudo-Tori's pillars and bounced off. I knew it. If I recognized it, she could hit it. She fired a second shot, then a third. Each sent sparks flying, and small stone-like fragments scattered, but... Is it working? Toriko asked. I shook my head. The enemy's movements were unchanged. Okay, we'll try this one. Toriko reholstered the Makarov, picking up Alvarado's fallen AK. She removed the magazine, checking it before reattaching it, pulled the lever, and then got into position. She looked surprisingly good doing it. While I stared admiringly at her, Toriko opened fire. The shots were far louder than the Makarovs, and I hurriedly covered my ears. A continuous spray of bullets tore into the stone of the pseudo-Tori. It carved holes large enough to see into the stone surface. However, even after fully unloading on it, the injured pseudo-Tori still stood there, continuing to churn. The blue light wasn't fading, and the feeling of nostalgia beating in my chest didn't weaken. When I didn't say anything, that must have clued her in, because Toriko bit her lip. No good, huh? I desperately turned my head around, looking for anything else we could use. If this kept up, I'd only be able to wait until I ran out of willpower and was pulled in, but bullets didn't work, and my right eye could only see it. While Toriko... An idea rapidly came together in my head. Toriko, that hand! When I started shouting excitedly, Toriko looked at me like she had no clue what I was going on about. Your left hand! Take the glove off! This? What am I going to do with it? Toriko took the tactical glove off, exposing her translucent fingertips. I grabbed her wrist, walking towards the pseudo-Tori of my own accord. Whoa, Sorrow, what? I spoke rapidly as I tried to explain. It seems my right eye is able to recognize the true forms of creatures in the other world. Considering that, it wouldn't be weird for your left hand to be able to do the same, right? True forms? Huh? What do you mean? Looking into Toriko's confused eyes, I hesitated for a moment. Then I told her, Sorry, I'm gonna make you touch something weird. Forgive me, okay? Huh? What? Hold on. Looking into Toriko, there was no time to get her consent. I forcibly took Toriko's hand, and I shoved it into the blue light. Grab that! What do you mean that... In my right eye's vision, I could see Toriko grabbing the blue light. What is this? I can't see it. What am I grabbing? I knew it. Now just hold on like that. In my excitement, I was shouting despite myself. This was what I was just what I was aiming for. If my right eye could see the true forms of the other world's entities, then Toriko's left hand might be able to touch them. That was my conjecture. Toriko's translucent fingers were digging into the light. It was an incredibly strange scene. How must it have felt? Toriko was wincing, trying to keep the rest of her body away from her left hand she was holding onto it with. Ew, this thing is all soft and moist. Hey, can I let go now? Put up with it. For how long? I pulled my own Makarov from its holster, the unfamiliar action taking me a lot of time. Hold still now, Toriko. I turned the muzzle towards the blue light, then squeezed the trigger as hard as I could. There was a strong recoil, and I nearly dropped the gun. Still, I couldn't possibly miss. I'd put a hole into the light, right next to where Toriko was holding it, a pitch-black hole. 1 moment later, bo-bo-bo-bo-bo-bo-bo-bo-bo-bo-bo. There was a bubbling sound from that hole, and a black sphere erupted from it. Toriko looked up, crying out in surprise. When I looked up with my left eye, I saw Hashaku-sama's tall body doubling over backwards. The bubbling sound trailed on, almost like a scream. The way Hashaku-sama twisted violently, it was as inhuman as a balloon struggling as the air escaped and it deflated. In my right eye, a black orb after black orb spouted from the hole, then immediately vanished without a trace. Even when they touched my body, I felt nothing. In the time it took me to look at her with both my eyes, Hasaku-sama shrank and faded. The eruption of spheres weakened, then stopped. The next thing I knew, the whole area around us had changed. We were sitting on a moss-covered stone pavement. It smelled of earth and greenery. I saw a dilapidated shrine, surrounded by thick grass. There were stones scattered around us, the remnants of a broken torii gate. There was a gloomy forest around us, and up above the tips of the trees, I could see the evening sky. I could hear birds and bugs. This was the surface world. I stood up, looking at Toriko. You okay? Toriko bent all the fingers of her left hand, glaring up at me. You made me touch something weird. I told you I would. How did it feel? It was kind of like a feeling that ruins people. Toriko shuddered. Oh, I want to wash my hand. You think that shrine has water, maybe? Where are we? Toriko finally stood up, opening her smartphone. Blah! It's saying we're in the mountains of Shishibu. Seriously? Now that she mentioned it, I felt like Alvarado had said he'd entered the other world through a shrine in Shishibu. There was no sign of Alvarado nearby. He'd probably passed through the blue light to somewhere else. Kamikakushi. When I considered we nearly met the same fate, I felt terror, together with a lingering trace of that longing. Toriko let out a resigned sigh, using the AK as a crutch to stand. It's a long way home. Hopefully we can catch a bus along the way, but... Huh? From among the shattered pieces of the torii gates that littered the road to the shrine, Toriko picked something up. It was a woman's white, wide-brimmed hat. Had Hashaku-sama left it behind? It had a silver halo, and Toriko held it up in both hands, staring at it. Don't go putting it on or anything. When I told her that, and Toriko vaguely nodded, I could tell her mind was elsewhere, with another person who wasn't here right now. Toriko, didn't you think Satsuki-san might be there? I did. I really wanted to go. Toriko responded in a quiet voice. Why were you able to resist? Because I was worried about you. Huh? As I asked her to repeat herself, unsure what she had meant, Toriko turned her face towards me and smiled. You seem so vulnerable, Saruo. Like you're going to go off somewhere. I'd never expected Toriko to say that to me, so I was struck dumb. Unable to respond with an, I could say the same to you, I just stared back at Toriko's smile. And that is the end of File 2 of Otherside Picnic. It's after midnight now, and I do have work in the morning, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming by to watch and listen. I hope you guys liked it. I will probably do more of this again in the near future. I don't know if next week's ASMR stream will be more of this or not. I haven't quite decided that. I might run a poll on the Discord and see what your guys' thoughts are on it, if you enjoyed it, and if it's something you would like to see more of, and possibly see more of immediately. If it's a thing that you guys have enjoyed a lot and want to see more right away, then maybe next week we'll pick it back up again. We'll see. In the meantime here, let me see who we might raid out to. Let me see. There's a couple people here. Trying to see who we haven't rated recently. Let me see. Have a good night. Absolutely. You too, Coca-Cola. Thank you for hanging out, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. I think maybe, let me see. Jay and Ember are both streaming right now. I don't know if Jay is almost done. He's been going for 3 hours or so. I think he's not necessarily close to done here. He usually goes for a little while longer, I think. Ember's only just started. Let's go ahead. You know what? I think we tend to overlap with Jay a decent amount, so I think it's a little less common for me to see Ember live when we're raiding out. So I think maybe we'll do that. Thank you so much for the follow. Ooh, is it Burbs? Is that how you pronounce that? Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it very much. Okay, so yeah, I think we are gonna raid into Ember. She is doing her Made Monday ASMR stream. Yeah, let's go ahead and send you guys off there so she can give you some cozy times to end off your night. I'm gonna go ahead and start that there while we get going. If you are coming along on this raid with me, we do have a raid message. If you are subscribed and have access to the emotes, it is this. If you're not subscribed, that's totally fine. We've got you covered with this one instead. That first one will work, even though it looks like it won't, just because Nightbot doesn't have access to the emote. It is that right there is how it will look when it's done properly. But let me see here. It should be twitch.tv/EmberStarVT. For anybody who happens to get left behind by the raid, if you want to, because I know sometimes Twitch does that, if you want to follow along that way, that's also fine. You can do it that way too. So, I will be back on Tuesday, and we'll be doing some more Pokemon Legends Arceus. So if that sounds interesting to you, if you're interested in my gaming streams and the non-ASMR side of things, I'll be back on Tuesday with more of that. But I will be back next Sunday night with some more ASMR. And until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night and a great start to your week. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful night, chat. Sleep well. Hang tight for the raid. Good night.